This is the greatest moment in my life.
Hey, yo!
Hello.
Hello, Steve-O! Hello!
Good evening. Hello there.
How are we doing? Look at you and your chain wrestling merch, you sexy bastard.
Yeah, get it out there.
It's great, mate. It's great. Lovely stuff. Lovely stuff.
Happy
Magsy, you've made
birthday.
a... Oh, mate, thank you.
Oh,
Magsy's
yeah, thank
made the
you.
effort as well. Look how great Magsy looks.
What do you mean?
It's the little tiara that I love. That's amazing.
Oh, I mean, it's just daily wear. Sorry.
Is it? Yeah.
I am all. I mean, it's offended Steve all that much. He's gone.
He's gone.
Yeah,
Steve's gone.
This is what genuine lords wear of a day.
Okay. Right. Fair enough. Yeah. It's the little tiara or crane. What would you rather, tiara or crane?
Oh, tiara all day long.
Yeah, I'm glad. Stick to your guns with that, mate. Stick to your guns with that. This is our 100th episode, mate. It blows my mind
that we still have got viewers, that we still haven't been cancelled.
That's the one that gets me. How have we not been cancelled in our previous 99 episodes with some of the stuff that, well, especially you come out with? You're terrible.
Rude. I'm officially a supermarket gangster, apparently.
That's it. Yeah, I worked hard on that, mate. I like that shirt. If anyone's not seen this, there is more new chain wrestling merch out on the SJP World Media merchandise store. Go and take a look. Steve-O is sporting one of them there, the Chain Wrestling 100 t-shirt, and there's a special Magsy one from his days as a scrapping with other supermarkets. He's representing his little colours and so on. Yeah, it's good stuff, mate. Good stuff.
I'm all about the blue and yellow.
Yeah, of course. How are you, Steve? You all right?
Yeah. I've just been watching for research purposes an Elite FPL one. I told them all to jump on here if they fancy it. So I'm going to retweet that we're live now and everything. But yeah, I'm genuinely. I said on Twitter earlier that I wasn't going to write any notes, but I've done a. Be on there, won't it? Yeah.
Oh, look at that, eh? Look at that.
2.5 pages worth. No, actually, yeah, 2.5 pages worth of notes. 3.5, in fact. Yeah.
Excellent stuff.
That's more notes than I've ever done for any wrestling match ever.
I think my notes are more like 3.5 words than 3.5 pages. Yeah.
I make more notes for my Hall of Lames than I do for any of the wrestling matches.
We have noticed. But there we go. Yes, our 100th episode. I suppose for the 100th time, we better start the show off properly, hadn't we? Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you may be listening or watching from. This is Chain Wrestling Live with Mags and Sai, and our special guest for the second week running, Total Steve-O, an SJP World Media production, our 100th episode. Why? I am Sai, and with me, as always, is the great one. To my get nothing done, pretty lazy weekend, to be honest. Just kind of milled around, did jack shit, had a few beers, standard. The too cool to my big fool. A podcaster who always knows his role, but never shuts his mouth. The podfather himself, Lord Mags in a beautiful tiara, and of course, Steve-O as well. 100 episodes, boys. Honestly, it's blown. I was talking to the wife before we went live, and it's like, this is the first podcast I've been involved in that's hit triple digits. So it means a great deal.
Yeah, second for me. So
yeah, it's lovely, mate.
Yeah,
sorry,
I did not. From the first episode, I did not think it would make it this far and snowball into what it's become, which is just a train wreck every Monday, just an absolute train wreck.
Oh dear me, a train wreck indeed. A little bit of a disclaimer, I suppose, in case we are having people join us that don't normally, or I guess we're having people join us who maybe are a little bit younger, shall we say. For example, in the chat there we have a fella there, Liam the Beast, who is my daughter's friend, so he is a little bit younger than some of our listeners potentially. A little bit of a disclaimer. It is 9 o'clock. It is, it is past the watershed officially, I suppose, for UK television. We have done a Ask Us Anything for our non-wrestling topic. This show can get a little bit grown up at times for you younger listeners, but also our listeners are fucking disgusting. So some of the questions we get for Ask Us Anything tend to be a little bit off. So Just bear that in mind. You have been warned. This show is realistically 18 plus. If you carry on listening, that's up to you. We've done our bit, Magsy.
Absolutely.
Speaking of the chat, then, who have we got? Who's joined us?
Well, Steve O obviously has brought a lot of his EFP crew. One of the first comments we got was Uncle Juicy TV saying, "I'm here for."
Here he is.
Dan Griffin, before the show started, said he couldn't be here. He's in that there London.
That London.
He's still here, is he? Oh.
Aaron, as every week, it's Monday night. You know what that means. And we've also got King Pig's Bladder in the chat as well. Mark, I've only just got that. That's clearly not a real name. Mark Oxmall. I dare say it is, mate. I dare say it is. Cam's in the chat. FPL Seb, welcome over from Steve-O's crew. Scottish Danny is in the chat. Mark Oxmall and Sharon having a bit of a debate there. Like you mentioned, Liam the Beast is here.
Hello, Liam.
Connor from Connor Knows Soccer. Hello, Connor. How are you, sir? King Pig's Bladder wants to know, Steve-O, do your notes contain the words "the cameraman zooms in on Rikishi's ass"?
No, they don't. No, that's something that I didn't pick up on. No, it contains a lot of. He's Japanese.
yeah.
That was so racist. Well, xenophobic, but we'll get there. Andy from Bang Bang in the chat. Hello, sir. 5 nerds go. Dan's going to find out pint prices and collapse. Yeah, down in. Well, he's only got out with 40 quid, and he's going to last him one.
He's already tweeted about it. £7.50 for a pint, he reckons, in the one pub he went to.
Yeah. It costs a minimum of a tenner for a double vodka lemonade. It actually angers me. It genuinely angers me.
You could buy a full bottle of vodka around my ends for that.
Unbelievable. That's Steve-O's vodka there. He drinks it by the litre because he's hardcore.
Cam is saying he's repping the Griffin clan this evening, chaps. Woe betide the Griffin clan this week. Mark Larms, would you take -4 for Stone Cold to the Rock?
I don't follow
that. That's a fantasy football thing.
Okay.
You lose points, but you swap a player.
Okay, I get you.
And then we have got Joshua Goodwin in the chat. It's a jam-packed chat today. Bang Bang is saying, I'm dressed as Dan Griffin at home as a tribute.
that gimp mask, is it? That look?
And Anya, hello Anya. First of all,
hello Anya.
A VK is £6 on a Saturday night. A VK, the Scruff's version of a WKD is £6.
And that's in Gloucester, mate.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, disgusting. Oh dear me! But it's awesome having so many people here in the chat joining us for our 100th episode. It is fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us there. Steve-O, you've been away, mate, haven't you? I thought you were going to be away a little bit longer. It's good to see you.
I've literally come back today specifically for this podcast, and then I've got another podcast with Bang Bang Andy, which I really cannot wait to look forward to. And then he's got a special match that he wants us to watch. I don't know if I'm allowed to reveal it or not. Andy can let us know in the chat if he wants to. I'm going to be talking about that. And then I've got another podcast that I'm doing with Dan and Rob that I mentioned last week on Friday, talking about WrestleMania 27.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've kind of cut my holiday short deliberately for this, basically. And because I can't do it when I'm from. The internet is just so bad that I have to be in London to kind of do this. And it's one of the few things for me which is holding me back living in London, essentially, which is, it sounds pathetic, I know, but it is the internet. Where I live, it's kind of like a black spot. And it just, to give you a simple idea of how long it would take to upload a 1-minute video up on YouTube, about 10 minutes. Up here, it takes literally exactly. It takes about 30 seconds up here, but down where I am on my Wi-Fi next to a router, it would take about 10 minutes. It is ludicrous, but hey. But yeah, it's been a nice few days off being away from London, and then now I'm back. So yeah,
Lovely
it's been
stuff.
good.
You've been away as well, Magsy, haven't you? On your Holly Bobs?
I have, yes. Got back last night. Well, we meant to come back today, but we came back last night because we were just ready to come home. But yeah, had fun. Really quiet. Doing a lot of walking along the East Yorkshire coast. So yeah, had fun.
Yeah, nice. Okay. I've stayed at home. So
Brilliant.
I love it, mate. I love it. We have a huge packed show. We are looking at a wrestling match that seems to have got quite a bit of love from the CWF with regards to influence on fans of a certain age, because it was first broadcast on Channel 4. So looking forward to getting into that. Also, it's a War Rumble, which is brilliant because it gives us plenty of places to link to at the end of the show. We have a massive non-wrestling topic as we revisit an old favorite, Ask Us Anything. But we also, I guess, boys, need to chuck some crap away, don't we? We need to get rid of some garbage in the Chain Wrestling Hall of Lame.
The Hall of
All right, if you gentlemen don't mind, I will go first this week because my Hall of Lame is going to take literally seconds.
I knew. Yeah, because of the amount of work you put into it.
I wasn't actually going to do it. I wasn't going to do it because Steve-O was on the show. So I thought, okay, we can have one for Steve-O, one for yourself, Maxie. Obviously, you put a lot more effort into yours than I do mine, as you're very, very proud to declare to everybody who will listen. But watching the match back today for the show, there was something that happened, and it just popped in my head. I fucking hate that. And I've looked into it a little bit to see why I could potentially have this hatred of this particular thing. Whether there was something I looked at as a kid and despised it or whatever, but it's not. It's just literally a more modern wrestling trait that I have seen a few times from various wrestlers that, I just hate the move. I hate it. So I'm going to actually put a move into the Chain Wrestling Hall of Lame this week. And no, it's not the bear hug, believe it or not. It's not the bear hug. That's being saved for another occasion. There's a bit more history to the bear hug. This is our friend X-Pac did this during the Rumble. It's the Bronco Buster.
Oh,
I absolutely despise this. And the reason I thought that can go in the Hall of Lame this week, and it'll be a quick one to allow you boys to elaborate on your points, because it literally popped in my head. The tick box for the Hall of Lame and why it started was, again, coming back to my dad walking in the room and seeing certain things on the TV screen. And he, as we said last week, he wouldn't walk in during Steamboat Flair or Michael's Bret Hart or something spectacular. He would walk in during something embarrassing and cringy and crap. The amount of times my dad would walk in to me watching an old VHS tape of a smaller wrestler bouncing up and down on another wrestler's chest and basically looking like he was waving his tackle in his mush was unbelievable. And I don't care how many times people boo me in the chat there. We can see that. But X-Pac, Rey Mysterio, all these guys doing the Bronco Buster, it's shite. I don't know if it's supposed to be a comedy spot, but it doesn't make me laugh. I don't know if it's supposed to be a spot where they're sort of showing how dominant they are over their opponent. But to me, that doesn't work either. It looks like crap. It doesn't look like it hurts. It's just absolute shite. So my entry to the Hall of Lame this week is the move, the Bronco Buster.
I don't know what to say. I think it's a funny move. You're right in terms that it doesn't look like it's painful at all. It looks like there's more risk to actually injuring yourself than injuring the person led in the corner. But yeah, it's still a fun move. You're just a bitter old man.
Maybe I am, but I hate what I hate. I like what I like, and I don't fucking like that.
And it's still better than your dad walking in on you jacking off to the 10-minute preview. Brilliant.
Now Uncle Juicy, you can't say that on Elite FPL, only here. So.
You can say it. We're allowed to get cancelled. Elite FPL, no deal.
Is that from experience, Uncle Juicy? Is that a cringeworthy moment from your past? There's probably a story there, I imagine.
Maybe he's been caught watching both and his dad was more disappointed that he was watching the wrestling than he was jacking off to Babe Station.
Perhaps as he walked into the room, he heard his dad come in the house, and he thought to himself, the wrestling's on, and the Bronco Buster.
Oh
was on
shit! I
screen.
better turn it over.
I better put some
porn on. Woo! Got away with that one.
Oh dear! What have you got for us, boys?
Yeah, let me, because mine will take literally seconds, Mags, and we'll hand over the reins,
Jesus
the roving
Christ.
reins to you. Yes. This was literally. I didn't realize I was had to do the Hall of Lame, and I was thinking, God, what rubbish did me and my brother hate? And mine was quite. When I say recent, I mean as in I've just watched it recently again, and it was Mae Young. I don't know if you've done this one. I'm trying to think if you've done this one or not. Mae Young giving birth to the hand. Has it been entered yet?
You're still muted, sir.
I'm still muted. I think that might have gone in. I think that might have gone in already. But let's hear your viewpoint of it, Steve-O. Let's hear somebody who obviously grew up watching 2000 wrestling and that era, and has also done a big watch back as well. So I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. So from my personal perspective, the actual storyline involving Mark Henry and Mae Young, I thought from a comedy point of view was genuinely really funny. It was a bit of a light-hearted segment every time, like they'd gone from whatever in the ring, it would be, let's pop over to the restaurant where Mark Henry and Mae Young are. It was genuinely really, really funny.
Okay.
But then it gets to the point where obviously Mae Young becomes pregnant. You're just like,
that's
this is just a bit meh. But then to actually show the birth on TV, it is genuinely just disgusting.
Yes.
And once I don't even understand what even went through the writers / Vince McMahon's mind when they said, we're going to let Mae Young produce a hand.
I can
don't
fill that in for
understand
you, Steve, actually.
Please do, yeah.
I can fill that in for you. The hand was... Mae Young is obviously of a certain age at this point, and this so she'd have grown up in she'd have been of a certain age in the 40s, the 50s, and so on. Around that time, shall we say, certain devices that would aid people to reach a certain feeling weren't readily available, and it was kind of frowned upon. You didn't have Ann Summers on every corner, put it that way. Brilliant. So there used to be something made that was basically the shape of a hand that would move and vibrate in a certain way, that would basically be a massage tool to alleviate aching shoulders, aching bones. But apparently it got quite a reputation for certain generations as being, shall we say, a self-pleasure device. So the aspect of her giving birth to this hand meant that it at one stage got lost, shall we say. That's how Bruce Pritchard explained it on a certain show that I listened to. So
I love the fact you skate around the fact that we're not allowed to say, sex toy or whatever, but we're allowed to talk about a bloke jacking off the porn. Fantastic censorship there. But no,
I'm trying to bear in my mind that my youngest daughter is probably still watching it, and my mum may even be in the chat as well. So I'm trying a bit more delicate than normal, but
so it comes to the actual birth of it, and again, this is going to sound ridiculous, but I believed everything up. It goes back to our show last week and how I feel about wrestling. If I can suspend my disbelief, I'm happy with it. I don't care what it is. I am happy with it as long as the context is there. And once they start doing things that are a bit too real, I'm like, yeah, I don't really like this because I don't want to go down that route of this is a bit. You're touching subject matters which are a bit too serious. And of course, he gives birth and everything. And for me personally, it just goes back to what you just said 2 seconds ago, which is like, if your parents come into your room and they're watching this, they're just thinking, what on earth is going on here? It's ridiculous. And what I found really funny about that whole segment was the fact that Gerald Briscoe is genuinely being sick. Like he's legit puking up. And even me as a watcher, I'm like, I'm now wanting to be sick because you're being sick. It was just disgusting, and just clear off into the Hall of Lame. Awful.
No, Totally agree, mate. Totally agree. The only good thing to ever come of it was the joke on, like, was it the 25th anniversary of War Magazine or the 3rd or something like that, where they had the hand all grown up, supposedly. That I laughed.
Even though it would have only been about 10 years old.
Yeah,
it was a full-grown human man in a hand costume. That whole sexual chocolate era of Mark Henry has got multiple entrants in the whole of Lane to come. Definitely, but yeah, so
indeed,
that's a great one. Scottish Danny corrects us. It's a Raw 1000 where they showed the hand.
The wrestling encyclopedia himself, that little brain full of all these facts. Magsy, I know what you've got for us. I'm not going to spill the beans, but you've told me, I'm looking forward to this. I'm going to sit back and really enjoy this. So let's dive on into your Hall of Fame entrant for Chain Wrestling 100.
Okay, so mine actually links back to one I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, and I said that there would be a follow-up. So if you remember the Jim Herd entrant, well, Jim Herd had a magnum opus of a wrestling show. So basically, to cover overall ground, Jim Herd was ended up being an authority figure in WCW. Wanted to enact a lot of ridiculous rules. Wanted Ric Flair to cut his hair and become a gladiator called Spartacus. Basically, had no idea about the product that he was working with, had very little experience in the rest of the world. I think he was a pizza shop manager, something like that beforehand. So he was an idiot. But one of the biggest shows in the WCW calendar was always the Great American Bash. And at the 1990 Great American Bash, we had Ric Flair dropping the title at the NWA title to Sting, which was, I think, Sting's first ever title reign, and really gave Sting that rub that only Ric Flair around that time could give for a wrestler. So in 1991, Flair was scheduled to do exactly the same thing for Lex Luger. Drop the title to him. Lex Luger is then a made man in WCW. Blah blah blah. But Ric Flair, he refused to drop to Lex Luger because he'd already agreed with the booking committee that they were going to drop the title back to Sting again. Because of this, Flair was fired and stripped of the title by Jim Herd. But the issue was that Ric Flair had possession of the title, and you had to leave a $25,000 deposit for the title. So if you left the company or was stripped of the title, when you handed it back, you got your deposit back. That didn't happen.
He was also still a semi-touring champion as well, wasn't he? He would work for other companies as well. So it's kind of, I suppose, protecting themselves against losing the title potentially. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. So with all this this commotion going on in the background, Jim Herd still decided to plow on with the Great American Bash, and thought the best way to do that was to hack job an already lackluster card, which was seen as having characters that were WWF light. So firstly, he pulled Barry Windham from a 6-man match where he was meant to be teaming with Arn Anderson and Paulie Dangerously to face the Steiners and Missy Hyatt. Barry Windham was then put in the title match versus Luger, and Scott Steiner actually got the night off because he had a niggling injury, which left us with Arn Anderson and Paulie Dangerously versus Rick Steiner and Missy Hyatt.
It's so bad.
So before we get actually into the show, Dave Meltzer said in the Wrestling Observer after reviewing this show, WCW had its first chance to prove it could survive without Ric Flair, but by the end of the Great American Bash, a show that even Ric Flair could not have saved, the only thing that they proved was that Ric Flair was worth far more to the company than it ever realized.
It's true.
So, why was the gap-toothed gypsy Dangerous Dave so scathing? Let's have a look at the show. So, all the way throughout the show, the crowd is almost constantly booing or chanting, "We want Flair." The opener has been roundly called the worst pay-per-view opening match of all time. You had Steve Austin and Terry Taylor facing Bobby Eaton and PN News, in a scaffold match. In this 6-minute match, which for me felt like about an hour, on a piece of scaffold that was way too narrow to have any sort of wrestling on. We had Eaton and PN win, but not by the traditional rules of a scaffold match, throwing their opponent off. They won by capturing a flag and slowly walking it back to their side, to the point where all the wrestlers then just climbed down the scaffold, and the announcer, Gary and Michael Capetta, didn't have a clue what was going on and just decided to announce the winners. Then we get plenty of stalling on commentary from Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone. We get Tom Zenk versus the Diamond Stud Scott Hall. This was actually not a bad match, but certainly not a pay-per-view quality one. No. Then after that, we get Scott Hall's outsider brother and also fellow Hall of Fame inductee, Oz, with the Great Wizard. He faces Ron Simmons, a match that goes 8 minutes with the crowd constantly chanting boring, where Farouk gets the win with a flying tackle.
So bad.
And on we go. This was then followed by the battle of the former Rock and Roll Express tag team, Robert Gibson and Richard Morton. Richard now using his Sunday name because he's joined the York Foundation. And that actually started pretty well. And the crowd were getting really into it. And then Morton began working on Robert Gibson's leg for 10 minutes. And the crowd were bored shitless again. And eventually Morton picked up the win using a laptop. Next was a 6-man elimination match with the Freebirds of Jimmy Garvin, Michael PSAs, and Bad Street, a.k.a. Brad Armstrong, in a mask.
Yeah. Versus
the Young Pistols of Steve Armstrong, Tracy Smothers, and a young Dustin Rhodes. This was probably the best match on the card, but even this was not without faults. Tracy Smothers made a blind tag to Steve Armstrong, who climbed up to the top rope and then just stayed there, and then eventually got down for no particular reason. We saw Steve waiting in position until his brother, Brad Badstreet, was in the ring so he could hit him with a drop kick. There were a lot of kind of like stalling and confusion with the wrestlers. And then all the eliminations came in the last 3 or 4 minutes of the match, which left Dustin Rhodes the lonely survivor when he beat Garvin and Badstreet with a clothesline and a bulldog. So that was fun. Next, we had Johnny B. Bad. He tried to claim a bounty to prove that the masked character Yellow Dog was actually Brian Pillman, who'd lost a loser leaves WCW match. This actually got off to a good start when Johnny's pyro went off, and then they played the wrong theme music. His manager, Theodore Long, you can hear him screaming at the production staff to get the music right. We get a short match here, and Yellow Dog wins by a DQ when Teddy gets involved to try and rip the mask off Brian Pillman's head instead of Johnny B. Bad. Backstage, we see Eric Bischoff trying to interview Missy Hyatt while she's taking a shower. Guaranteed he had a crafty wank.
I hate Missy Hyatt so much.
Yeah, I mean, I hate Eric Bischoff so much as well, so that's fair. Then we get a lumberjack match between Big Josh, who was actually, I think, Matt Bourne, the future Doink.
Yeah.
And he is accompanied to the ring by bears, obviously, because that's what you do, actual proper dancing bears. Then we have Black Blood. He's facing Black Blood, who is the former Billy Jack Haynes, who was actually advertised as being accompanied by Kevin Sullivan, but Kevin Sullivan wasn't there at all. 6-minute match. The only interesting part was a brawl between the lumberjacks, and then the end where Black Blood legitimately attempts to behead Josh with the axe, only to be stopped by Dustin Rhodes, who was one of the lumberjacks, and a roll-up victory, everyone's favourite, the roll-up. So we're about halfway through the card now. Here we go. Kevin Sullivan was around for the next match. He joined One Man Gang in the advertised Battle of the Giants against El Gigante.
Oh, dear God.
El Gigante, who was accompanied to the ring by a troop, I think it's troop, of dwarves, just to show how El Gigante he is. That's what I assume. This was so slow. This was Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez levels of slow. The win comes when El Gigante kicks One Man Gang's hand, which is filled with powder, into his own face and clotheslines One Man Gang to the back of the head.
A great finish for any main event anywhere in the world, I'm sure.
A clothesline to the back of the head or the white powder. I mean, the white powder is usually the start of a good night, not near the end.
Well, Flair had left at this stage, so maybe not so much natty, but
so hopefully this next match is going to save the card. We've got Sting. Everyone pinning their hopes on Sting being able to rescue this abomination. He faced Nikita Koloff in a Russian chain match, otherwise known as a four-corner strap match. It's dull and sloppy match, but surely a Sting victory is going to give the fans something to cheer about.
Yeah, send them home happy.
But Jim Herd don't want to send these fucking fans home happy because Nikita Koloff wins and Sting loses the match. And then he almost gets castrated with the chain afterwards. Now we get to the title match. The vacant WCW title, obviously, with Ric Flair leaving the company, heading for pastures new. It was Barry Windham versus Lex Luger in a steel cage. And before the match, we get to see the replacement world title belt, because obviously Ric Flair has still got the original. They had a world championship wrestling from Florida belt, and they basically etched a panel over the top of that logo with World Championship Wrestling engraved in it.
Yep.
I think the person who did the etching had Parkinson's, because there's not a straight line to be seen on that whole panel of text. So anyway, the match was fine, absolutely fine, but the crowd absolutely shat all over it because this wasn't the match they were promised. They wanted Ric Flair. So there's chance of we want Flair all the way through the match. But as the pair are just about to win the crowd over, we get Harley Race and Mr. Hughes coming to the ring. They distract Barry and allow Luger to pick up the win, which meant this obvious heel turn on Luger killed the goodwill of the crowd stone dead, and they just absolutely shit all over the talent in the ring. And so the card ends with a steel cage match for the vacant world title. But no, it didn't. It didn't end there, because there was another match. And that
why would
match
that be your main event? Why would that be your main event?
Exactly. When you've got this match in your pocket, the mixed gender tag match between Arn Anderson and Paulie Dangerously versus Missy Hyatt and Rick Steiner. And this match is probably the biggest load of absolute bollocks on the whole card, because Missy Hyatt is kidnapped from ringside within seconds by Dick Murdoch and Dick Slater, who also let her drop her so they can actually have a legitimate fight with a fan in the crowd. But the reason they had this kidnapping was booked in was because, in classic WCW fashion, the company booked and promoted the match, and then learned on the day of the show that intergender wrestling was banned in Maryland and that they couldn't have the match. God. So this left Rick Steiner to face Paulie and Arn Anderson alone. But by the time this match actually started, there were only 4 minutes of pay-per-view time to go. So in those 4 minutes, we see Anderson try to attack Steiner, but Steiner gets the better of him, takes both out, Double A and Paulie out with a couple of Steiner lines, wins the match, and then storms off without even bothering celebrating. and Jim Ross signs off the show saying, "Fans, as we look out at the Baltimore Arena tonight, I am glad there are no more matches left." So my entry is the Great American Bash 1991.
Very, very worthy entrant. And do you know what made it even more typical WCW, Magsy? When the VHS tape of this pay-per-view was released, the front cover still 3 months later, mind, 3 months later. That's how long it used to take these videos to come out. The VHS cassette recording of this for people to go out and buy. The front cover still had the advertising for Ric Flair versus Lex Luger as the front cover.
Jesus wept. Luckily, Jim Herd wasn't long for the company after this, but what a turd of a show he put on.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. And there's so much crap on that show. Even things you look at and think, oh, that could be quite good, end up being absolute shite.
Yeah.
Absolute shite. So a very worthy entrant into the Hall of Fame, as I think all three are. So we have the Bronco Buster, we have Mae Young giving birth to a hand, and the Great American Bash 1991. Your Hall of Fame inductees for Chain Wrestling 100. All total shite, unworthy of their spot.
I thought of a late entry.
Go
Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar, Crown Jewel 2022. Have you seen that?
No, I heard it wasn't that bad.
God. Oh, clear off. Awful.
Was it really?
Honestly,
Okay.
it genuinely angers me when matches like that happen and the ending is just atrocious. You know, I watched a match that I've seen 6 times and I still was invested to go, I don't know who wins this. This is amazing. Yet, 6-7 years later, I'm watching one of the same people involved in a match against Bobby Lashley in Saudi Arabia or wherever it's bloody held. And I'm just like, this is just an abomination. It just angers me so much. And yet they're getting paid an absolute fortune to participate in this. And then the follow-up match was, I don't know, a tag team match between people I don't even recognize, to be honest with you. And I'm just like, this is just embarrassing. It just annoys me. It really does. It pisses me off.
Well, you'll be happy to know that the plans are for Lesnar versus Lashley 3 at WrestleMania. So,
good.
And
my wife
crowd went mild.
My wife will be with me to hear that as well because she hates both of those guys. So, excellent stuff, fellas. Excellent stuff. We should, I suppose, Magsy, check in with the chat before we dive into our non-wrestling topic.
Yes, we shall. Let's have a quick look. A lot of talk about Mae Young and Mark Henry's hand, but we'll start with this. Fitch reeled off the Babe Station number the other day, which sounds about right. Of course, Fitch did, but he used to heavy breathe down the other line. Jesus, it's that bloody Fitch again. We changed that number. Apparently, the hand grew up to be the SmackDown fist.
Amazing.
Good.
And then went back inside Mae Young. And it also had a stint in Jackass where it surprised people down random corridors. Yeah, that is actually really
well.
really
It's
fun.
good that it made a career. You know, it's good that it got some work.
Everyone was on the edge of their seats wanting to know, Andy, where the FSAR was going with that when you were talking about ye olde dildos and vibrating hand massagers. There is someone on the internet. Of course, this is Matt from 5 Nerds Go. There's someone on the internet that would pay to watch Mae Young rub one hand, and that's Morty.
Okay. Again, disclaimer: this show is a grown-up show.
And they're from Bang Bang. I've seen someone in work with a pleasuring device stuck up. Does he work with old people? Is he like a nurse?
Yeah.
Stuck up their arse. He adds stuck up their arse. Brilliant.
Did you have to remove it? Was it legit stuck? Was it one of those I fell on it moments that we read about? Or
there was a teacher where I went who always walked in with a limp like she had a butt plug in. See, this is just the levels you only get on chain wrestling. Absolutely nothing at all to do
We are
with
a wrestling
whatsoever.
podcast, I promise.
Dan, Scottish Dan is so glad we're not reviewing this. Yeah. And Cam says, Great American Bash 1991 still sounds better than Uncensored 1996. And Bang Bang saying, I'm copy and pasting this audio for a future episode. I'll do the top 10 and I'm playing. So I'm doing the Lord's work, basically. I've recorded an episode of Bang Bang for Andy, and he won't even have to even watch the show, which is good.
Just say today's guest is Mags and just press play.
I've heard Mags had a gaggle with him back in these car park war days. Yeah, you don't mess with the supermarket gangster.
The little massive.
Vacant is the most decorated champ in all of wrestling history from Connor No Soccer. And Steve, you're being told to get in the bin. I mean, yeah, but for what? Is there anything in particular why you want him to get in the bin?
I think that was reference to the Lashley Lesnar match. I think that comment popped up. So
they went for the ending Stone Cold versus Bret Hart from Survivor Series 1996, but messed it up badly. The whole match was rough, and I hope Fitch is using his work phone. And then Sharon has put, "I've been doing the Bubba's hair, so I haven't paid attention to the chat." Brilliant.
That's why it's deteriorated into what it is. Shah's not there to watch that, look after you or to supervise you reprobates. But yeah, there we go. Speaking of these reprobates, we've got a few questions, Magsy, from them, haven't we? Should we dive into our non-wrestling topic, my friend?
Let's do it.
NWT time. Oh! No wrestling talk here. It's the non-wrestling topic.
Lovely. Nice. Lovely. Nice. Oh, lovely. Lovely.
That filthy belch. That's my daughter, that is, believe it or not. No, I'm joking. It's not. It's Max, I see you coughing away again, mate. I see you coughing away again. Are you all right?
I can't get shut. I'm allergic to podcasts, I think.
Allergic to podcasts. Yeah. This week's non-wrestling topic was quite simply the revisiting of an old favourite, seeing as this is our 100th episode. Ask Us Anything. And we have quite the mix, don't we, Mags? Quite the mix.
I don't know how you expected it to be anything different than what it is.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of fucking reprobates that we attract on this show. Clearly, they're going to ask us dick and shit questions.
Exactly. And that is pretty much what we got, with a couple of wrestling ones thrown in. So, yeah, we are still a wrestling podcast, we promise. We start, Magsy, and I'm going to go through them in the order they arrived in.
Of course you are. Yeah.
We start with @PigsBladders, who made us a fantastic image earlier today of Magsy and I celebrating our special day, which I've sent out on the Chain Wrestling Twitter. So go and check that out. The work this person does on these images is fantastic. I love it. Thank you so much for that. The question is, gentlemen, you are offered £250,000 to tattoo all the lyrics of every Cliff Richard song ever released on your entire body. Every centimetre covered, no exceptions. Would you do it? And this does also include your face, because I had to double check that was going to happen. What are we thinking?
No, I'm covered from head to toe in tattoos anyway. But to be offered £250,000 to be covered with Cliff Richard, I couldn't even name you a Cliff Richard song, to be honest with you. But forget it.
Yeah. Okay. I think 250 grand is too low. I think I would be tempted, for more money. If it meant if I had enough money to be comfortable, never have to work and look after my family, I think I'd go for it,
Never have to work or look after your family.
No, never have to work and be able to look after my family, like my parents, my sister, and all that, everybody. But how much money would that be? A couple of million?
250 grand it's way not worth it. Not for Cliff Richard lyrics. Jesus Christ.
Whose lyrics would you put on you then for 250 grand?
Like Shawaddy Waddy, maybe.
Okay, yeah, that's a fair exchange. Yeah.
Could you? I'll do the sigh here. Could you, in theory, use the money then to get it lasered off?
All of your body. That would be the worst.
Well,
And it costs exactly 250,000 to get it done.
The trend,
No net gain.
the trend at the moment in the world of tattooing is basically get blacked out. Just literally, just get. I don't know if you know that. In fact, the Falling in Reverse singer, he's now got all his tattoos blacked out.
Why
it
though?
looks.
I don't understand.
It's because they then, in certain cases, they can then do white patterns over it instead.
Okay,
Yeah, and
interesting.
it's all well and good doing it, but it's like, yeah, but you've blacked yourself out completely now. You can't reverse that. So they've kind of like fucked themselves up, basically. I can imagine getting laser surgery to get certain things removed off me, but not to blacken it out. No, it's a bit.
Yeah, it looked like Braille if you got laser surgery done on that.
Yeah. Well,
Imagine having the Lord's Prayer, whatever that song was he did, like on your eyelids or some shit. Do you know what I mean? That'd be painful, wouldn't it?
Wired for sound across your forehead. It's brilliant.
Did I ever tell you I saw
that's
Cliff Richard once?
You didn't. You've seen Cliff Richard?
I've seen Cliff Richard, yeah. Perform about 3 songs at Bristol City, Ashton Gate, going back in. This is like
before he was kicked out and barred from the town centre.
No, it was something to do with the football. One of the football clubs I played for back in the day when I could actually still run was associated with a church group. To be eligible to play for the football team, you had to attend at least one church event per year. A few of my mates used to go to this thing, so I went along to the youth club sometimes, but that apparently didn't tick enough boxes for them. So I went along to this supposed concert that they were holding in. I think it was Ashton Gate. I may be completely wrong with that, but it was in Bristol somewhere. And Cliff Richard was there, and he performed 2 or 3 songs. And I can't remember that because I was actually I was 16 and I was with my 16-year-old girlfriend at the time, and effectively got a hand job in front of Cliff Richard that day. So, moving on.
Again, we go back to we'll censor Mae Young having a hand stuck up. Anything else?
Well, it's nearly 10 to 10 now, mate. And as far as I'm concerned, the watershed's gone. We got we put out our disclaimers. It is what it is.
And he wanked off to Cliff Richard. That's shocking.
Not to Cliff Richard. It wasn't like to the rhythm of the song. Anyway, let's move on, shall we?
Summer holiday. Oh, the train's at the station.
Dan Griffin at Dan Griffin 21 on Twitter, who is not with us this evening. He is on the beer in London, so hopefully he will listen to this on the audio version. Dan Griffin says, "What is the worst scenario you can think of to drop a really loud fart? The worst scenario you can think of to drop a really smelly fart?" I assume he's put loud twice there, but I think they're supposed to be loud and smelly separate things. And have you ever shit yourself in public?
All right, I can actually answer these questions.
Okay, let's go.
Well, it's not me directly, so even though he's not asking for anecdotes about it, but I think when my mate was telling me how he was he was having sex with whoever and with his girlfriend, and he just absolutely let rip. That kind of ended that.
Oh dear, that kills the mood attached, doesn't it?
So yeah, my answer would be while doing the business. And what was the other one? Sorry, really smelly one.
Yeah,
a really smelly one. It would have to be around like someone that you are trying to impress, someone that you find attractive, and then the one where as I shat myself in public, technically yes. I overindulged in Nando's, and this was quite recent. This was only like 7 years ago.
This was today.
This was now. And essentially, I was just driving in my car with my mate, and I'm just like, I'm not going to lie. It's the old Will from In Betweeners. I farted and I shat myself, and that's pretty much what happened.
Oh dear. I can't. I don't think I've ever shit myself in public. Not that any moments spring to mind. You've had a few, close calls when you run into a portaloo at a festival or something, maybe. But never. I don't think that's happened. I may get corrected by people I know when they hear this show later in the week. Maybe I don't know. But Magsy, yourself?
I've come close after a night out and deciding to walk home from the pub, and you touching cloth, and it's almost like the shit knows that you're almost home because it gets closer and closer, and you open the door and it's there going, "You're not going to make it, motherfucker." And you're up the stairs and you're just about. So yeah, I've come very, very close. To answer his second one, what is the worst scenario you can think to drop a really smelly fart? I don't think there is a worse scenario, because if you're dropping the fart, you like your own brand, don't you? And it's like, it's something you're proud of.
Yeah, but I'm with Steve on that. If you're around someone that you fancy, or you're out on a first date or something like that, and you know, a little one creaks out. Do you know what I mean? When you don't want it to, especially if it's only the two of you. If there's other people around,
yeah, you can blame.
You can jump on that straight away. Just go, Jesus, I think someone's farted, you know, and you could straight away shift the blame over elsewhere. You know,
I think someone's farted. Me. It was me who farted. Sniff that.
Oh dear. There we go. Cam in the chat there at Cam Griff 92. This is interesting. This is more of a wrestling aspect. He says, "What is your dream booking along with commentary team? Wrestlers, commentators from any era." So I think he means, what is your dream booker and commentary team? We'll go through. He's got other questions, but we'll get to those after we've answered this one, I suppose. So, and with regards to booking, I find that a bit tricky because different time frames, different wrestling, and so on. But commentary is easy for me. Everyone knows I'm a massive Jim Ross fan, absolutely huge Jim Ross fan. I love Jim Ross with Paul Heyman. I think that is superb. I've also got a little soft spot for Tony Schiavone and Jesse Ventura, because they were the team on SummerSlam '89, and that was the VHS tape I had when I was a kid. So even though they didn't work together much, that's kind of like, I know it's not the best, but I got a soft spot for it because it reminds me of being like 8 years old, you know? What about yourself, Steve-O and Mags? Commentary team or favorite bookers?
I'm with you. Go on, Max. Go.
I was just going to say, I agree with Jim Ross and Paul Heyman. For the short time they were together, it was absolute gold. But I've always had a massive amount of respect for Joey Styles to be able to do a one-man booth for pretty much all of ECW's run. It's just phenomenal to be that good. So yeah, for me, it will be Jim Ross and Paul Heyman, but honourable mention definitely to Joey Styles.
Yeah, I agree with basically exactly what you guys said, but I have to say this, that we can all laugh about me doing these stupid impressions of Booker T, but genuinely, Booker T in 2011 is like the best thing about SmackDown. He is just so bad that it's good, and genuinely, whenever I hear him on the show, I am just constantly trying to perfect his voice, because he's just fantastic on the commentary, along with Josh Matthews and Michael Cole at the time. The three of them they've got a really good chemistry together. They're nothing compared to JR and Paul Heyman or JR and King, but an honourable mention to Booker T. I thought he was really good in 2011.
Okay, is he doing NXT now? I think.
Oh, you've just reminded me. God, Wade Barrett is doing the commentary on. He did it for Crown Jewel, and he's also SmackDown. Awful. Please, just go. Stop. It just annoys me. Just so flat and boring. Just go away.
Cam also asks, favorite manager from any era? Gotta be Bobby Heenan.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few. Bobby Heenan was just, he's the bar setter. But I used to always have a soft spot for Slick.
Okay, the Doctor of Style.
I don't know why. Maybe because he always sung after every interview. But yeah, I used to like Slick.
Yeah. Okay, Steve-O?
This is cheating in a way, but certainly he's technically he's an owner, but I'm going to classify him as manager. Vince McMahon.
Okay.
I'm terrible with these questions, to be honest with you. I think Vince McMahon during the 1999 2000 era, but really the Austin era. He was just absolutely fantastic. He's another one which I was just glued to the screen whenever he was doing his promo work, and his back and forth with Austin was just fantastic. Paul Heyman, I really enjoy with Brock Lesnar. I'm not gonna beat about the bush with that. I thought he's absolutely fantastic, and also I don't really have much recognition of him, but I do appreciate the work that he did. Was Jimmy Hart. There was a presence about him I found whenever I've watched anything to do with the very early 90s. There was just something about him where it just screamed, you're the manager and everything. But I don't even think he is a manager, but Paul Bearer with The Undertaker.
And with Kane.
Of course, with Kane as well. I thought he was very, very good. So there's just a few that I could think of off the top of my head.
McMahon's actually a really good shout, because in my head, he doesn't even enter the sort of being a manager, I suppose, criteria. But you're spot on, because he is ringside representing wrestlers when they're going up against Austin, and he's making matches for these guys to go and cause Austin problems. So yeah, of course it works. Yeah, that's a great shout, Steve.
Yeah, and he also led things like the corporation and the corporate ministry and stuff like that. So yeah, it absolutely works. Yeah.
Yeah, Heyman's a great shout as well. When he was in WCW, Paulie Dangerously, the Dangerous Alliance, and all. Oh, fantastic stuff. Cam also asks, if we had a choice, would you either take a F5 from Brock Lesnar or a spear from Roman?
Oh, I think it's the spear
from Roman. Yeah,
he looks like he would be very gentle, but make it look really painful. Where Brock would just throw you like 6 foot in the air.
Would that not? I don't know. See, I was leaning more towards taking the F5, because if I fall over and land on my face a lot anyway, so
brilliant.
But getting a guy running at me and smashing me in the gut like that,
it's more like a hug. I mean, you have to play the part. It's not real, Sal. Let's just get that out of the way. He's just going to hug you to the floor.
See, I'm looking at it as it's a shoot, mind. I'm not, my wife in the chat there.
Roman Reigns is genuinely going to spear you through.
Yeah, that's what. I mean, Cam, if you're in the chat, let us know. Is that what you meant? I'm thinking he means as a shoot. Would you take the F5 or a legit spear? And I'm thinking surely the F5 would hurt. Yeah. I'm thinking
even as a shoot, I think I'd rather get hit whilst on my feet than on Brock Lesnar's shoulders and then span around 180 degrees and then thrown onto the floor. Yeah, I think I would take a spear still.
Okay, fair enough. And lastly, Cam asks, favorite SmackDown commentator and why is it Funaki? Well, of course it's Funaki.
Yeah, he's the number one. He was not. No, he was never. It wasn't a commentator though, was it? He was the number one announcer.
Yeah, SmackDown number one announcer. Yes.
So you fucked that right up, Cam.
So we're not going to answer it.
And it's clearly Taz anyway. So
is it?
No, it's definitely not Taz.
No, little round orange dude. He looks a little bit like a baked bean,
or an Oompa Loompa.
An Oompa Loompa, yeah, that's a good show actually. He could have worked in the chocolate factory, couldn't he? Okay.
Wow.
Danny at Scottish Juggalo on Twitter. Oh, shout in the chat there from Scottish Danny. It's JBL. That's a great shout. JBL with Michael Cole on SmackDown was good.
He was the savior of SmackDown as a wrestler and a commentator.
There you go. Danny not in the chat, on Twitter at Scottish Juggalo. He says, inspired by the brand new, brilliant Murder in Mind podcast. Thank you very much, mate. I appreciate that. He says, you saved the life of a higher up in the police force and are granted 24 hours to murder any current celebrity you want without punishment. Who do you choose? Now, I think this question is going to be very difficult for us to tiptoe around and not cause ourselves repercussions in the future. So we just want to say this is all hypothetical. It's a game. We're not really going to kill anybody, but who would you knife?
Jake Paul.
See, I absolutely despise Celine Dion, but I'm not sure I want to kill her.
Why? Why do you despise poor Celine Dion?
I don't know. You know, I just sometimes look at people and go, "Oh, if I ever met you, I'd just punch you straight in the mush." Celine Dion does that for me.
That's so mean.
Yeah, and then that bloody Titanic song and that wailing, warbling. It's like, okay, you've got a fantastic vocal range. You can do like, I don't know, 78 octave vocal range. You don't need to do it in every fucking song, love. Just sing us a bit of a tune, all right, and then be done with it. Do you know what I mean?
So watch your back, Celine Dion, because if Sa ever gets the opportunity, he is stabbing you right up.
No. I said I don't like her. I hate her, whatever, but I don't think I'd want to kill her. Let's just stipulate that now before I get nicked for saying on an internet wrestling show that I want to.
Always with the murder, Scottish Danny.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Always with the murder, the Caddingtown stabber. Steve-O, any thoughts?
Well, I just instantly thought of someone that I cannot stand on YouTube. It's Eddie Hall. I just fuck off. He's just such a cock. And
Eddie Hall, who's that?
Former world's strongest man, did the 500 kilogram deadlift, as he'll tell you every fucking week.
He's proud of his achievements, then, yeah.
Yeah, an absolute one of the biggest sellouts you will ever come across, and it just angers me so much. And he's just recently, okay, fair enough, he's done it for good causes, but he's just shaved off his beard recently and everything. And I'm just too cynical. He just does everything for attention. Look at me. And I just find it really, really pathetic, especially when you're a professional or were a professional sportsman and you're having to sink yourself as low as selling yourself out. Like, yeah, good luck to you and everything. But yeah, the sooner he's gone off this planet, the happier I am. But
okay.
That's actually just twigged my memory for one, and it's a very recent one. True Geordie.
Oh God,
he's outed himself as being a proper knobhead today. So yeah, I'd chef him up.
Can you expand on that? Because I don't have. So True Geordie, another one who makes out that he's some humble. Oh, I've worked really hard to get where I am. It's like, in the words of Si, fuck off, have you? Just fuck off.
Yeah, so I've always thought there was something. I've always thought there's something disingenuous about him.
Yes, yeah.
He always comes off as being smug and sly, and it turns out that he's an Islamophobe, and also likes big dildos up his rectum. So yeah, check out his True Geordie on Twitter. I'm sure you'll see all the things you need to see. But yeah, he's a twat.
I will. The one thing I would say, in all seriousness, before he, again, another one that's decided to sell his soul, and yeah, fair play to him. He's now like interviewing absolutely huge stars around the world. There's no doubt. Like his interview with Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. Don't get me wrong, they're terrible. I couldn't watch them, but he's getting names like that on his show, which is just mental. But he does do good. He has done some outstanding podcasts. I will not take that away. One of the best ever podcasts I've listened to is, and I always find podcasts with porn stars really interesting because they're really, really open about the industry. And I've got no time whatsoever for, is it Jackmate that does Happy Hour?
Oh,
well,
yeah.
They did a podcast with a porn star, and it was actually really enlightening and really fascinating. Listen to this guy, and Chris Jericho's done one where they used to go through these stages, these podcasters interviewing virtually the same people, and but True Geordie did one with the guy that invented Pornhub and YouPorn, and it is legitimately fascinating. He also did one with an undercover police officer. It's absolutely outstanding. These are like 2-3 hour long episodes. They're not like an hour now. They're like 2-3 hour long episodes of this fascinating conversation. Another one he did was with a former gangster. Absolutely outstanding, without wanting to use that word again. But it's just fucking brilliant. I highly recommend anybody watching this or listening in on the audio to check out the old True Geordie stuff. But these days, since he's sold out to Twitch and everything, yeah, I've got no time for him at all.
No, that's fair enough. Obviously, I said I dislike Celine Dion. I don't want to kill her, but when it comes to the actual question Steve asked, I'd like to put forward people like the lead singer of the Lost Prophets, people like Gary Glitter, people like that who are still walking this earth, having done the hideous things they have done. I don't understand how these people are still walking the earth. They've not had their fucking throats slit. Dirty nonce bastards. But anyway, let's move on. We have James here at Yam All Right. Was that right, Steve-O? Magsy, did I say that correctly this time?
I mean, we've not had confirmation either way. It sounds right to me.
Okay, I'll go with that. We get treated with another series of the amazing Legends House. Which wrestlers, current, old, dead or alive, would you cast in it? Steve, have you ever seen Legends House?
I know of it.
Yeah.
I'm aware of the premise, but I have a guess. No.
Okay, I've watched a few episodes, and to be honest, it was quite funny. To be fair, it was like it's nothing television. It's just you haven't really got to concentrate. It's just there, and there were moments that annoyed me, but other moments that did make me laugh. But it's effectively like a reality TV show where, for those who are unaware, where old wrestlers are living together in a house and they argue and they got their own little.
Oh, then no, I haven't. Then
it's
sorry,
on the network.
Right, okay.
Yeah, some Roddy Piper's in there and. Jimmy Hart's in there, and Mean Gene Oakland is in there, and it is quite funny because they do get on each other's nerves. But again, it's like nothing television.
I was thinking you were referring to, is it Round the Table? Is that what it's called? Is it...
Table for Three.
That's it. Yeah, that's what I thought you were referring to that.
No, I think Legend House is kind of like Big Brother for wrestlers, but without the challenges and stuff like that. It's just basically conversations and like Sa says, arguing. It was a nothing. It's not. I wouldn't have called it amazing. It was a decent show to watch, but let's see who could go in. Uncle Juicy, I'd have Vader and Yoko in the house in an all-you-can-eat. Yoko's winning that. Absolutely winning that.
I would like to put forward Ric Flair just because the guy would just go insane and be a prat, and also Meng because he's going to settle any argument, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, that's it. You want some conflict, and then you want someone to sort that conflict out. So it'd have to be wrestlers that are pissed off with each other. So
Chris Jericho and CM Punk,
Colt Cabana, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Ace Steel, Larry the Dog. Throw Larry the Dog in there.
Yeah, you could make some really interesting TV, couldn't you, with that sort of stuff? I think.
Yeah, shoot farting.
I've got a question to kind of tie into what. Sorry, who asked the question? Sorry, James, wasn't it?
James.
That's right. Yeah, James. Yeah.
It's slightly off subject, but it's not. It's who would you like to hear like a genuine 3-hour podcast with? I'll give you examples, and they actually go into in depth. Mine would be Brock Lesnar and The Rock. They're two individuals that I'd love to hear genuinely their opinions on the world of wrestling stuff. Because Brock did. I don't know if either of you two listened to it, but when Austin was doing those interviews after Raws, and he did the one with Brock, I thought that I've listened to that 2 or 3 times. I think that's here's that word, outstanding. I think it's brilliant because he's clearly really uncomfortable to start with, and he don't want to be doing it. And then he kind of just calms himself down, and he's really really interested to talk to, especially about his hunting and everything. But I'd love to hear his opinion about UFC and WWE. I would find that really interesting. And with The Rock as well, you just don't hear The Rock talk about WWE at all. And I'd love to hear his thoughts about the wrestling industry back when he was in it and his legacy and stuff. And take forward, is there anybody that you can imagine that you'd like to hear like a 3-hour podcast with?
I imagine it'd be people that you don't hear from very often. Would be the most fascinating if they're genuinely going to sit there and open up and have a proper in-depth conversation about the modern product, their own career, whatever. People who you don't hear from very often. My mind instantly goes to Barry Windham because I think that guy had a fascinating career. He worked with all the top guys. He went to WWF, back again, and all this. He wrestled at the first WrestleMania. I think that would be really intriguing to hear his thoughts on the business now and his own career. It depends how honest you're going to get as well. If they are genuinely going to be out of character and honest, I would love to hear from CM Punk because he's been so fascinating for so long, and he's also
Well-
now a dickhead. So I think that would be quite interesting.
No,
you
no, no.
hear
He
his-
was always a dickhead.
Well,
It's
okay,
just
yeah.
Fans didn't realise he was a dickhead until very recently.
Did you
Yeah.
hear his podcast from 2014 though with Colt Cabana, the one
Yes.
that blew up?
Yes.
I thought that I've listened to that probably 6 times.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
very good,
that
yeah.
is. I want to listen to it again, to be honest with you, to see if my opinions change. But I think that is one of the very few, very open podcasts where you're just like, wow,
Yeah,
I
you
can't
learn a-
believe you're saying this, that. It's fascinating.
I think the obvious for me, the absolute obvious one, if they're going to get a long, drawn-out discussion about the whole career and it's completely honest, the only real answer anyone I think as a wrestling fan can give would be Vince McMahon.
Oh, yes, of course.
Oh,
Yeah.
So even one up that, a warts and all Vince, Shane, and Stephanie.
Yeah,
podcast.
That'd be interesting.
Just to really get to understand what it's like to be in that bubble
Mm.
of the wrestling world being everything that you live for. So yeah, that'd be amazing. But it would have to be like Si said, it would have to be honest. It would have to be warts and all truth, nothing held back, no questions dodged, anything like that. That would blow up the internet.
Back to the Legends House question. If I could set exactly what they're doing, I would only have maybe 4 people in Legends House. I would have Bret Hart. I would have Shawn Michaels. I would have Bill Goldberg. The 4th I'll come to in a minute. And I would make sure every morning they watch Bret's match against Goldberg and the Montreal Screwjob on a loop for 4 hours. And then you open the door, let Paul Heyman in, just to needle everyone a little bit. Let's see what happens.
That's brilliant.
I think that'd
That
be
is
great
brilliant.
television. Rob at UTT Rob on Twitter. He said, if you had to swap lives for a week, live like Ric Flair and Roddy Piper did. Oh, sorry, like Ric Flair and Roddy Piper did on Wife Swap. Who would have the best time, and what would be the biggest problem? So I think that's aimed at me and you, Magsy, saying if we had to swap lives, as in we did Wife Swap like they had on television for a while, who would have the best time and what would be the biggest problem?
I think it would be
It's an interesting question.
I think it'd be a dead heat because we are both absolutely mollycoddled by our partners.
100%. I think I'd have a blast up north with your missus. I know Sharon would have, it'd be great for you to spend some time down here and that. It'd be awesome. I think the biggest problem would be that we'd end up pissing everyone, the other person's wife off as much as we piss off our own wife.
Yeah, pretty much. It'd be a poor do when our original wives are begging for us to come back because they can't put up with the other pillock of a husband.
I'm not too sure if that would ever actually happen, but
the problems would be with the wives. We'd have a bloody good time.
Blast.
A great time.
Totally.
Absolutely.
It'd be awesome. Joshua Goodwin at Joshua Goodwin PW on Twitter, the other half of the awesome NXT Rise and Fall podcast. I know it's that great because I record it every week. He asks a few questions here. Would you rather have fingers for toes or toes for fingers?
I think. Now, are you keeping the original set as well, though? So if you've got fingers and then you want fingers for toes, you still have your original fingers, don't you? You don't swap.
Yeah, I don't think it is your swap. Yeah, I think it is like
So
you'd have. So you'd
I
have
would
like
rather.
10. You'd have 20 fingers or 20 toes. I think.
Yeah, I'd rather the fingers. They're
Yes.
way more useful than toes. Toes are they're like a special needs version of a finger, aren't they? Do you not think?
Oh, why? That's a brilliant. I've never heard a toe described as that before. That's a fantastic.
Well, yeah. What could you do with a toe that you couldn't do 10 times better with a finger?
Well, it comes down to balance, doesn't it, with your toes? Isn't that right?
Yeah, but you still have a thumb. A thumb is a thing. Like if you lose your big toe in an accident, they replace it with your thumb anyway.
Do they?
Yeah, that happens. Yeah,
Is that real?
you need it for. That's true because like I said, you need it for balance. So the thumb would always. 5 nerds go. wank straight away. It's just Matt's go-to. No, but
just
yeah,
the level. Yeah.
fingers are way more useful than a toe will ever be. I mean, take the little toe. That is a throwback to evolution when we needed toes. Now you don't need. What does your little toe do? Absolutely nothing. Nothing whatsoever. So fuck off toes. Give me 20 fingers.
You could be really productive, couldn't you, as well? If you had if your other fingers, your new fingers on your feet. I mean, you need to obviously invest in bigger shoes because they're longer, aren't they? But you could like type with your feet whilst you're, making some food or what. You could all sorts, couldn't you?
And you don't need to worry about socks because you just wear gloves. Gloves on your feet.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably, no,
that's the deal breaker for you, is it?
That's the line, yeah. You've crossed the line now.
Wearing glove socks. Yeah, you'd be way more productive.
Steve-O,
Yeah.
what would you go with?
Yeah, I'm the same as Mags. Fingers all the way.
Yeah, okay. What would your pro wrestling finisher be?
Clearly, belly flop off the top rope.
Fair enough. Steve-O?
In the Danny will like this reference because I've written it down in the notes. In the SmackDown game back in 2001, my favourite finisher to choose, there was quite a few, but it was Rikishi's pile driver. That was he does it in the Royal Rumble. Yeah. The Rikishi driver. Yeah, it's just fantastic. That'd be mine.
Okay. Mine would be either a super kick or a DDT because that's what I want people to use to finish people off because that's the way it should be.
No, but they're just transitional moves now, sir.
No, they're not. No. As we say on the NXT Rise and Fall podcast, respect
Slap
the
the leg.
DDT. In fact, I can show you my T-shirt. The
that's fine.
DDFNT. Okay, respect the DDFNT. Okay. And Shawn Michaels won 5 world titles with a super kick, so shut up.
Well, back then, crescent kick, I suppose.
Well, I suppose. Mags versus Sai in a fight. Who wins? Well, me, obviously, because I would hit the super kick. So
that finisher. I think it would be a long, drawn-out draw.
I don't think it would be that long. I think it would be maybe 10 seconds of effort, and then we just both sit on the floor, heavy breathing, because we're knackered.
Draw.
In fact, I think now, because of the scenario, these questions were asked before we confirmed Steve-O was coming on, so I think it would be a triple threat, and Steve-O would destroy us both. So I think that's the answer.
He would F5 both of us at the same time.
At the same time.
In fact,
after about 8 squats.
He'd do the FU, like that Cena did with Big Show, and was it Mark Henry as well? It was someone else massive, and he did the double FU. Steve would do that whilst doing squats.
This one is intriguing. Sorry, Steve, did we get your finisher? We did, didn't we? Yes, I do apologize.
The Rikishi driver, yeah.
Inspired by @Murder in Mindpod, Joshua says, how would you murder someone and get away with it? So just to be clear, anyone listening, anyone at all, okay? We've been talking about celebrities we would kill, and now we're going to talk about how we're going to get away with it. These are just hypothetical situations. This is not us publicly planning anything.
So I'm going to steal one from. I do this a lot on this show, actually. I'm going to steal one from XFM.
Murder people and get away with it.
Don't expose yourself now, Steve-O. If you've got away with it this long.
Steve Merchant uses it's just incredible what he talks about on XFM, but this one where he uses a bow and arrow, but it's made of ice, and essentially shoots through a window, kills the person, the water melts, no murder weapon, gets away with it basically. Ricky Gervais pulls the whole plan apart, but that's what I would do, a bow and arrow made of ice.
There was an episode of, I don't know if it was Poirot or Jeremy Creek. Is it Jeremy Creek? Is that the one?
Jeremy Creek?
Jonathan Creek.
Who's Jeremy Creek? Jonathan's simple brother.
Yeah, he wasn't as good at catching the criminals, believe it or not. Who's Jeremy Creek then? Is that a person?
No, you've made that person up.
Okay. So Jeremy Creek then, there was an episode of that, or again, like I said, Poirot or something like that, where they actually stabbed someone with a knife made of ice and got away with it.
Yes,
or
I remember that. Yeah.
Or they might have got caught, but whatever. That's kind of what
Well,
my mind goes to.
That it'd be a crap detective show if they got away with it. Like if Jonathan Creek was like, I can't work this one out whatsoever, and then run the credits and show's over.
Yeah, that's the episode where his brother Jeremy stood in for him.
I haven't got a clue.
There you go. Oh, Sharon, my wife in the chat, says it happened on an episode of CSI as well. Perhaps that's what I'm thinking of. CSI and not Poirot.
It may have been a character on there called Jeremy.
Yeah, and Poirot is really similar to CSI being in Vegas or Miami or whatever, isn't it? So maybe. And Joshua finally says here, our plans have not worked out very well at all with our ice bow and arrow, our ice knife. Magsy, what did you want to use?
Oh, I would lure them to Canning Town, stab them up, and then walk away scot-free, because you get stabbed in Canning, it's instantly pinned on Scottish Danny. So he would be my fall guy.
There you go. Another one just on the, is it? It's not a notch on the bedpost for killers, is it? What do they have? Like
I haven't got a clue.
Like got a collection of bones or something. Photos, yeah, okay. He says, assuming that none of these have worked and we get caught, what would be your last meal?
Oh, it'd have to be a Sunday roast, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's lamb. Good lad.
Yeah.
A lamb roast dinner.
See, we had a curry the other week, me and the wife, and it's the first one we've had in so long, and I loved it so much. That's all I can think of right now. So,
what curry was it?
It was a chicken madras with lemon rice, and it was banging.
Oh, sounds good.
It was good stuff.
So you'd have that. If you got caught for killing someone with an arse knife, then you'd have chicken madras and lemon rice.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, when you're executed, I mean, I'm assuming we're going to get hung here. Apparently, you mess yourself. If they're going to kill me, then I want to eat something that's horrific when I shit myself when I get hung. So they got clean that up.
That's a perfect answer to go back to Dan's questions. That would be the best time to drop a loud and smelly fart, just as you're going to the electric chair. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Signed. Morty at MortyJR5 on Twitter. He says, there's lots of Murder in Mind pod inspired questions, which is fantastic, by the way. Everyone who listens to episode 1, I'm so grateful. It's done brilliant. So good in literally only the first couple of days of its release. We've already got another 3 or 4 episodes recorded. Really looking forward to everyone listening to it, because I think Morty and I really hit our stride after a couple of episodes as well. So yeah, looking forward to people hearing that.
If that's anything to go by, blimey, I'm in for a treat, because you two are excellent.
Oh, thank you, mate. I appreciate that. Really enjoyed it. There's lots of Murder in Mind pod inspired questions. Is 30 quid for a blowjob steep in 2001? There is there is context to that. The character is basically, actually, speaking of Poirot, it was the guy who played Poirot was the character in that episode, and he is soliciting the services of a young boy, shall we say, and he's told it's £30 for a blowjob. So is that steep in 2001 for a blowjob in Bristol, Mags?
You see when no, because Mags is the expert.
I mean, I have never paid £30 for a blowjob in 2001 in Bristol.
No.
But I've never paid £30 for a blowjob in 2022. So it swings and roundabouts. It's all about the value that person puts on the blowjob, I suppose. If he's using the tongue and it's sloppy,
right.
It's worth everything.
I suppose it depends on location as well. I mean, I imagine it'd be cheaper in Burnley than it is in London, but that's just the way things work.
It's a bag of chips in Burnley. I mean, even a bag of chips is actually quite expensive right now, so you share a bag of chips with them.
Okay. And one more, Morty continues. One more from another podcast I'm involved in, Shameless Shill. If he says here, if you could make one part of your body detachable, what would you choose and why?
I'm going to take the high road on this, and I would choose the head. So you could put on different heads for different occasions, like Wurzel Gummidge. Like
it doesn't say it doesn't say what would you remove.
Well, I don't
and
care.
Then have a different one, because I mean that's
what it says. Detachable. So
yeah,
you can
but you got
it off
one. You've got one. You can't just swap your head with somebody fucking else. That's not the question.
Not somebody else. It'd be my face and my features, but just maybe combed hair one day, wearing a hat another day.
So, so you would have a line of interchangeable heads, but they would all be your fucking head, just so you wouldn't have to bother brushing your own hair in the morning. Is effectively what you're saying.
That you took the words right out of my mouth.
Jesus Christ. Okay, Steve-O.
Going on to the not quite fighting, but probably my arm, so I could extend my arm even longer. That's about as much as.
Oh, like Inspector Gadget.
Yes. So I could reach things or something. I don't know. When I saw the ask us anything questions, I think to me, maybe I'm putting too much faith into the chain wrestling. I was expecting.
We fell for that one before. We now put no faith into him whatsoever.
Wow.
Yeah, there's none of this. What's your favorite TV show? What's your favorite band at the moment or anything? It's what part of the body do you want to get rid of and replace it with an animal? What it is?
I like the way that you
clearly that would be elephant's penis, wouldn't it?
I like the way you can literally do anything, detach any body part, whatever. I mean, I've got really bad knees. I would love to be able to take my knees off and not suffer with them for a day. That's the sort of thing I'm thinking of. Magsy's thinking, I'd swap my head around so I don't have to brush my fucking hair. You know, it's like...
At least mine had a use.
Yeah, okay. Save all that money on combs, won't you? You could put all your heads down in a circle and they could all just talk to each other.
That would be the most banal conversation ever.
We have another one here from Cam Griffin at CamGriff92. He simply asks us, with reference to the fantastic and really funny Morty and Fitch podcast. Go and check that out everywhere. It is so funny. He simply asked the question: Morty or Fitch?
Neither. They both
Neither.
knobheads.
That's not an option, though, is it? You got to choose one.
Okay. Well, Morty likes to wank over car form. Fitch looks like sausages when he's wearing a tie and belt. So I'll go with Fitch then, because he looks like sausages.
I got to plump with Morty because he's on Murder in Mind podcast with me and I'm loving it. So,
well, there you go.
But I do like Fitch too. Just to throw that out there. I don't want to upset anyone.
No, I detest Morty. I'm not bothered about upsetting him. I think he needs to quit masturbating over car form.
Fitch is the one who does all the car stuff, isn't he?
Is it? Oh, well, I've got the wrong one then. Brilliant. So I like Morty then. Morty's the sausages. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Steve-O.
I'm thinking Morty because of Murder in Mind, but also Fitch because, like in The Office, I can just go Fitchy.
Oh,
so, yeah. I'll go with Fitch. I'll go with Fitch.
Fair enough. There we go. I'm glad both got at least one vote each, because that could have been quite horrible otherwise, couldn't it? One here from @PigsBladders on Twitter. They say, a work colleague invites you and the missus to a party he's throwing. You don't know him well, but decide to go anyway. Straight away, that's not me. The answer would be no. But anyway, you decide to go anyway. At first, it's fine, and you have a few drinks, etc. Then it becomes clear it's a swingers party, and you two are the main event. What excuse do you make, or do you stay?
Excuse for what? I mean, aren't all parties swingers parties? I'd be disappointed if the party was coming to an end and I didn't get to rumble around in someone's car key bowl. So yeah, I'd happily stay.
Steve-O?
Oh yeah, the stuff that I'm into, going to a swingers party is nothing. So yeah, I'd happily stay. No problem with that.
He calls that Wednesday.
See, when this message came in to us, I was actually sat next to my wife and I read it out and I said, I'm going to get your thoughts on this because it's going to come up on the show. And she said, my wife basically responded, here, what excuse do you make or do you stay? My wife basically put an extra step into this process before making the decision of staying or leaving. She said she would look around the room first and see how attractive they are.
We all
Check
do
out
it.
the talent.
We all do it.
Just decide, is it worth it staying?
Well, there's a. I don't know if it was last week or it was an old episode, but either way, you both say, how do we do a confessions episode? And the only way you would know to stop the identity being revealed is you would be the only two that would know. And one of my confessions going on that is that whenever I'm on the tube and we're at a stop and we're waiting around and it seems to be taking forever, I just look around and think, imagine what it'd be like for these people to have to make to love each other if we're the only humans left on this planet, and it's ridiculous. So yeah, like I said, I'm with your wife there. I'm with Sharon. I'd have to have a look around first.
Yeah. But then it's sort of, how would you decide? Would you have like a ratings system? Would you be like, okay, that fella over there, he's a 7. That one over there is only a 1.
Have you not heard of Tinder?
I'm not overly familiar with it, but I understand how it works, I think. Oh dear. We have one here from 5nerdsgo at 5nerdsgo on Twitter. They say, if you were stuck inside someone's body, would you rather be peed, pooped, or puked out of them?
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, that's an easy one. Peed out of. Easy.
Yeah, but you're coming through a very tiny hole.
Yeah, that's it. You're getting crushed, didn't you?
And also, being peed or shat out, that to me says you've gone through the whole digestive system. At least being puked out, you've only gone into the stomach and you're coming straight back out. So I think I might go for that because it's fresh. At least you haven't been in there that long. If you're hungry, you've got some peas and carrots, obviously, to chomp on.
Oh, why are you the way you are? What is that about? That's disgusting.
What would you rather? Drinking someone's piss whilst being thrown out of a penis, or eating someone's shit whilst coming out of their arse, or chomping on some carrots whilst being vomited up? So,
at no point in this question does it say you have to eat the poo, the vomit, or drink the piss. It doesn't say that anywhere.
No.
So why are you
going to hold your breath that whole time? No. You've got to think about these things.
I don't think I have. Steve,
Cam
have
in
you a
the chat
preference?
says a urethra can expand a surprising amount.
There you go.
So that may be an option.
Another thing, are we lasered down to be really, really small, or do we have to fit in as we are? Because I'm quite a tall bloke. My limbs are really, really long. So me fitting into someone that's 5 foot ain't gonna be happening.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know how that would work. I suppose if you're frozen down, it doesn't make much difference. You can just walk out of any hole, can't you?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I don't know. I think peed would be the best option, but I wouldn't want to be squeezed out the hole. I get a bit claustrophobic, you know. But I don't mind a bit of sick. I can deal with that.
It'd have to be the sick for me. I'm not being shat out by anyone.
And there is the quote of the week. I'm not being shat out by anyone. We have a little bit more of a serious question here. My eldest daughter, Anya, she says here on Twitter, what is your opinion on Logan Paul in WWE? My opinion is he's better in the ring in 3 matches than some wrestlers who have been doing in the company for years.
So very loaded. She's looking for a positive answer then, because she's give us a positive one. But I agree with her. I think he's. I'm not a massive fan of the Paul brothers. I think their style of entertainment is just so childish. But I think he's been really good. I think he's been one of the better celebrities in WWE recently. So yeah, I'm quite happy with him. I've not seen his Crown Jewel match yet, but I will check it out. But other than that, I think he's been all right.
Apparently, his Crown Jewel match was very, very good. Again, I've not seen it, but the stuff online says it was very, very good. So yeah, I mean, what I've seen of the guy. Again, WWE is not something I watch a great deal of, but I saw it was at WrestleMania. He worked a match as well. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, the WrestleMania match I remember him wrestling another match. It was on Must Be the WrestleMania match. I thought he did quite well. So yeah, fair play to the
It
guy.
was WrestleMania and then SummerSlam. It was at SummerSlam.
Okay.
Was it against the Miz?
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think he's done quite well. You know, he gets the technical side of things right. The moves are good, I suppose. But yeah, no, it doesn't offend me really watching what he does. I mean, I suppose you can watch somebody go through a list of moves in a certain order by watching certain AEW matches. So it's no different to that in a way, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Steve-O, have you got an opinion on Logan Paul?
Unfortunately, this would be at a stage when I'm listening to you guys, and I'd be just like, I just respect your opinion, whatever you guys say. So I'm just going to go off what you just said. I don't know anything about him, to be honest with you.
Oh, I'm 41 years of age, and finally someone said they respect my opinion. That's touching. Thank you.
And it will never happen again.
We have here Wrestling Study Podcast at WWE Master 2018. I think this is a first timer messaging in, Maxie, which is fantastic.
Sure.
Thank you for joining us. Dream WWE and AEW Yoshihiko match if Forbidden Door opens. Magsy, obviously, you know a little bit more about Japanese wrestling than I. What's that mean?
I have no idea what the Yoshihiko means, but I just read that as Dream WWE and AEW matches. So
I know WWE are working with some companies in Japan now, aren't they?
yeah, I think is it Pro Wrestling Noah? They've got
Yes.
a deal with them, and obviously there's been this interesting stuff with Carl Anderson being the never champion, whilst then signing for WWE and mentioning Bullet Club and stuff like that on WWE programming. But yeah, I don't know what is meant by Yoshihiko, but WWE and AEW, some particularly dream matches there. I would have thought.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to. I mean, I'm a big Omega fan. I'd
Mhm.
like to see Omega Styles. I think that'd be quite good. Omega Rollins would be fantastic. I think.
Yeah. I mean, Rollins with anyone on that roster
Yeah.
would be absolutely superb. But yeah, so Punk versus Rollins, that'd be a banger. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Bucks, another throwback to their Ring of Honor time. Yeah, so plenty of matches. But the problem is with AEW having so many former WWE talent on their books, a lot of the matches have actually already been done. To be quite fair, but yeah, but some cracking matches there.
What about you, Steve-O?
Again, I refer you to my last dance. I don't know enough about AEW or WWE today's products to really comment, but all I just instantly think about is just me and my brother always like talk about, like I mentioned the other week, like about the impressiveness of people's physiques and everything, and I just love to see Brock Lesnar kick the shit out of anybody that's in AEW, basically, just because he's just such a monster of a man.
Yeah.
And I think he would just tear everybody a new one in that company. I'd love to see him do over MJF as an example. Just make an example of him. Like, you think your WWE, what's the word I'm looking for? WWE standards, do you? Hello, mate. Bang, and that'll be it. But yeah, again, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't really know much about today's product.
I have an update here from the wife, and we've totally looked at this question completely wrong. Sharon she's actually put in the chat there WhatsApp side, so I've got the WhatsApp here, and she has sent me the definition of Yoshihiko. I'm assuming I'm saying that correctly. Well, no, I'm assuming I'm butchering that altogether. But that's
you are very. It sounds like you're butchering it.
Yeah, Yoshihiko is an inflatable sex doll that apparently wrestles for the Japanese wrestling promotion Dramatic Dream Team. Other wrestlers treat Yoshihiko as if it was an actual human wrestler and sell the moves, mostly high-flying maneuvers, executed by the sex doll. For some moves, such as outside dives, Yoshihiko is helped by one or more assistants who throw him from the ring, place his feet on the ropes, and so on. Yoshihiko's opponent acts as if these assistants are not present during the match. So it's effectively somebody wrestling a blow-up doll.
I've seen some of that. I've seen. I think it was Kota Ibushi. He took multiple Canadian destroyers from said blow up doll. Like
Okay.
basically in a row, just like rolling Canadian destroyers. Yeah.
Oh, they're into some weird shit, aren't they?
I mean, yeah. They had, I'm sure DDT had a match where two people were farting in canoes going down a river.
Oh,
So
I'm gonna have to watch some of this company. This sounds crazy.
yeah,
But again, I suppose Seth Rollins is still my answer. So
I think we're on next week's Hall of Lame, to be honest with you.
yeah, yeah, good shout, Steve. Good shout. We have one here from Connor Knows Soccer at Connor Knows Footy on Twitter. If you had the choice of being in the audience for any wrestling match or pay-per-view, what would it be and why?
ooh.
I'll go immediately. Money in the Bank. There's two actually. Money in the Bank 2011 and One Night Stand with Rob Van Dam and John Cena. Just those atmospheres were
that
amazing.
would be my pick. That one, the One Night Stand. Just to be in that crowd when Cena's trying to throw the t-shirt and they just keep throwing it back. That it was just electric, absolutely electric. But a more personal choice would be to be at Raw when Chris Jericho debuted, because just to be in that crowd, oh my God, it gives me shivers every time I watch it still, like decades on. So to be there.
When you mention this a lot, like from my personal perspective, because I've seen it relatively recently, I'm just like, meh. Yeah, great. What in all seriousness, what's the significance for you? Is it because you know a lot about WCW? You knew the impact of him coming across to WWF?
No, it was quite the opposite. I didn't know I knew very little of WCW. I may have caught a couple of episodes of Worldwide, but it was just when I was kind of getting more access to the internet, doing a lot more kind of like tape trading, seeing what Jericho had done in his career, and then to hear on the grapevine that Jericho was coming to the WWE. It was just so exciting. And then you had the whole kind of months of lead up with the countdown to the Millennium vignettes, and then on just a random show in the middle of the year, nowhere near the end of the year, you see that it's going to come up later on in the show, and then for it to come on in whilst the Rock is in the ring, and for him to be pushed so high on his debut, it was just electric. It's just the electricity of that crowd when they knew that Chris Jericho was coming in, and it was kind of like that was, for me, the start of WWE destroying WCW, I suppose, because they took that big of a star from them and made him into the guy he is now.
Yeah, he his impact for me, just thinking of a relatively recent reference, even though it was like 7 years ago or whatever, kind of similar to when AJ Styles turned up. It was like he'd come from a different brand and he was already made into a superstar immediately, and that's certainly what Jericho did when he came into WWE. When he came, it was just like they pushed him and pushed him and pushed him. It was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, I loved it. It was Jericho's fantastic. Everything he sort of does is great, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, all these different character developments and so on. For me, one of my favorite shows of all time is WrestleMania 17. So I think being in the crowd for that would be quite good. The Rumble 2001, I loved as well. That was a great show. Wrestle War 92 with the War Games match, Dangerous Alliance in there. That would be awesome. But I love Great American Bash 89 as well. That's one of the best shows I've seen. There is a few wobbly moments in there, but, you know, Luger versus Ricky Steamboat for the US title. There's a War Games match in there that features the Road Warriors and the Midnight Express and all this sort of stuff. Ric Flair, Terry Funk's the main event. The Great American Bash 89 is really a really good show as well. So I think it'd probably be one of those I would go for. Magsy coughing his guts up again. He really is allergic to this, isn't he?
I know. I'm just allergic to your opinion. I think it's when you talk my spidey senses tingle.
Oh, dear me. Okay. And the last one we have, and it's via DM on Twitter. So we don't need any further, I suppose, Twitter timeline stuff, I guess. This is from Andy at Bang Bang Podcast Andy. He says, Survivor Series teams, pick 3 teammates each, must be 80s pop stars. And he also says, happy 100th episode. Love you both. Yeah, thank you, mate. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we massively appreciate Andy. He's a gem in our community.
80s pop stars, 3 each in a Survivor Series team.
He's a
Well, the fact
Fergal
that I said-
Sharky.
Fergal
Sharky 1. Andrew Ridgely from Wham 2. And let's go with Vince Clark from Eurasia.
Okay.
So they're my 3.
Steve-O?
I couldn't even name you a pop star from the 2000s, let alone the 80s. I pass. I tap out. Sorry, Andy.
Oh dear. Well, my team captain would be Shakin' Stevens naturally.
Oh, how did I not get shaky?
Who sang I Think We're Alone Now? Was that Tiffany?
Tiffany,
Yeah, she'd be involved just because how great her hair is.
Well,
And
best not have the match in Maryland then, because no mixed gender matches.
No. I suppose Michael Jackson would be the other one, purely because you want to draw a crowd. He was very popular, and you watch how fast he can move his hands and his feet. He starts tapping into that martial arts skill. He's winning me a match, isn't he?
Yeah, there's actually a wrestler who does a parody of Michael Jackson. And
Yeah,
he's
it's
so
ridiculous.
good. It's so good. His moonwalk DDT is brilliant.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, but fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, there we go. Magsy looking very much one eye on the time. It's 11:15. Shall we run
Jesus.
through the chat very quickly before we touch upon today's wrestling match?
No, fuck the chat. Let's go straight to the match. No, I am always joking. Chat, I absolutely love you all. Title or sex tape, sir. 10 seconds of effort. Yep. At Pig's Bladder, please make a Mags versus Sar Mortal Kombat poster. Yeah, I second that. Then we Keys in the Ball Boys, Whale Dick, Mags, they're massive. Brilliant. Oh, Jesus Christ. Always peas and carrots in vomit. It's science. Do you get chat like this on Elite FPL, Steve? Or do they go this mental?
The short answer is no, but let's just put it this way. A lot of the community find it really funny when I just say, I'm about to use the C word, so if you don't want to listen, turn off now.
Pee, poo, or sick. What is this show? This is a wrestling show, Benny. This is a
Benny
wrestling
Mac.
Podcast.
And he's also put Logan Paul, despite me hating him, he has been very good in the ring. 2 things I would like to see him would make him a full heel, and he needs to slow down a bit. Once you see the Crown Jewel match, you'll know what I mean. And Joshua, with a wrestler's insight, has said, with Logan Paul, it has to be remembered how much help he has had in terms of being booked to play to his strengths and being surrounded by the best in the biz. But a great athlete, man. Yeah, absolutely. And then do you think, Cam, this is where our chat goes into overdrive and starts to talk amongst themselves. But Cam's asking, do you think he will make it on WWE, or is it just doing the same stuff that he's good at? To be blunt, Logan Paul doesn't know what he's doing. He follows instructions fairly well, kind of like a young Sting used to. Not just him, but sprang to man. But by that logic, the sky's the limit, which I have to agree with. And then King's Bladder says, I agree with Mags about the Jericho debut. Sharon said, I remember him turning up. Watched that with my mum. We all loved him on WCW. And how good was the entrance music? Yeah, that's one thing. He's always had banging entrance music.
Yes.
I've got a note about it in the notes for this match as well. So,
and Jacko with his manager Hornswoggle, and he's got corn in his poo, allegedly. So we'll leave it at that. Brilliant. Cheers, Matt, from 5 days ago.
Somebody in the chat said about they asked Pig's Bladders to make a Mags versus Sai Mortal Kombat graphic.
Cover that one.
Yeah, they were. Pig's Bladder works incredibly quickly because I don't know if you can make it out on my phone. Here it is.
Oh, no way.
Look
Very
at that,
good.
eh? That is superb, isn't it?
And is that other one me?
Yes.
Is that Cetrion? I'm the girl.
I don't know.
Or is it Sindel? It looks like it might be Sindel.
I know,
Yours is just you. Yours is just you, like as you are right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain I've got that jacket.
I look like I need a bit of sun.
But that's awesome, Pig Spiders.
That's
Thank you
amazing.
so much.
Thank you
That
very
is
much.
fun.
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff. Thank you so much to everyone who sent in questions for our non-wrestling topic and everyone who's been commenting in the chat as well. But it's now 10 to 11. We need to talk some wrestling, gentlemen.
Let's get ready to rumble!
War Rumble 2000 won the poll. It was Mags's choice, won by an absolute landslide. It's all right. Rock wins. Where do you want to go next week, gents?
He doesn't win. He doesn't.
No, that's obviously the match we're covering now. The Royal Rumble 2000 from Madison Square Garden. It starts, I think, really interestingly for me, with a 1995 Royal Rumble recap discussing Shawn Michaels winning with only 1 foot on the floor. And they keep commenting on the Shawn Michaels rule throughout the whole commentary.
It's almost like they're telegraphing what is going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a bit much, isn't it? It's a bit much. But I suppose, gentlemen, I need to ask the question I normally ask. It's up to you two, whoever goes first. When was the last time you saw this before watching it back for today's show?
So I watched it about, let's say, 2 months ago. Very recently. Very recently.
Yeah, for me, it's not as recent as that, but it's a rumble that is in fairly heavy rotation for me. So maybe about a year ago, since I've watched.
But what I will say again, Danny will like this reference. This was it was one of many DVDs I owned. I know Benny Mac was also a big collector of DVDs, and I've actually seen this pay-per-view a minimum of, I'm guessing, 15 times.
Right.
So, and I've seen this Rumble match, about 20 times. So yeah.
Benny McCormack in the chat there saying the first Rumble he ever saw was 2000, and I imagine that's quite a big thing for a lot of people in the UK where we are, because this was broadcast on Channel 4. For those who are not in the UK or are unaware of how this works, that's not pay-per-view. That's not on Sky TV. That's not a subscription channel. This was available effectively in every home.
This is how legitimately I got into wrestling.
But there's a lot of people who have the same story, Steve-O, isn't there?
Yeah. Whenever I listen to your SJP pods, and a lot of your guests have said pretty much what I'm about to say, which is I knew of wrestling back when in the early 90s, couldn't access it by much. Occasionally saw the odd wrestling revolve around Doink the Clown or whatever, Hulk Hogan. You knew of it, but you didn't really watch it. And then this came along, and it was like, I don't believe it. The WWF is on TV. We have to watch it. Do you know any of the wrestlers? No, it doesn't matter. I mean, it really didn't matter. It didn't matter at all. And this is how, one of the memories that sticks out from the pay-per-view itself is that, when Cactus Jack brings out the bag of what they called again? How the hell? Thumbtacks. I genuinely thought at the time. So just to give you some, I say funny anecdotes, they're not even funny. When they said it was going to be a street fight, I genuinely thought they meant in a street. The thumbtacks I thought was a snake. I thought it was just a python inside. Because obviously I was linking that to Jake the Snake. And then various other people in it, I was just always thinking, where's Stone Cold? Where's Stone Cold? I've heard all these things about Stone Cold. Where is this guy and everything? So yeah, for the Royal Rumble, because I would have been 14, I'm guessing 14. Yeah, 14 or 15. And I know for a fact this is what got me back into, made me start watching wrestling.
Okay. And it's interesting how many people have similar stories. We've got people in the chat now saying the same. Josh Goodwin, Benny McCormack, and so on saying exactly the same. Is their introduction to wrestling having it on Channel 4? Now, I think there's so many people who are wrestlers in the UK on the independent level who have the same story, because back when I was still recording the SJP podcast and I was interviewing wrestlers from local shows and further afield, the amount of them that would say, I discovered wrestling through Royal Rumble 2000, through Sunday Night Heat, whatever, being shown on Channel 4. I mean, there was more that said that didn't, shall we say. So I think this is, when we'll get into the quality of the match and the quality of the show in a moment, but I think regardless of standard or quality, I think this is a very, very important pay-per-view, especially when it comes to the UK.
Yeah, absolutely correct. And it shows even now in the figures for viewers that it's very, very niche is wrestling in the UK, because it's behind a paywall. So for it to be on national free television, over the air television, it was huge.
And they were, from what I vaguely remember, they were advertising it really heavily. They'd be talking about, was it T4? And they'd be making sure that they were constantly promoting the show. I mean, I remember staying up, literally watching it live, and me and my brother, same room, just watching on a 14-inch TV. And I always remembered the ending of Big Show throwing him over and everything, and just magnificent.
Okay, see, this is going to be interesting, I think, because it sounds very much, Steve-O, like you've got very positive memories of this event and this Rumble. I'm going to come at it from a slightly different viewpoint, I think, because I'm a touch older than yourself. This isn't what got me into wrestling, and I'm of the impression, really watching it back, I think the undercard is fantastic. Triple H versus Mick Foley is superb. There's some great moments on the undercard, Angle, Taz, and all. It is great. I think the Rumble itself, and I apologize if I upset anyone, I'm just looking, just give my opinion. I think the Rumble itself is pretty average at best.
I won't let him say any more. I've muted his mic. He's wrong. He is very wrong.
I think you're probably gonna mute me now. I think that of the Royal Rumbles that I've watched, the 2011 one is absolutely abysmal. It's terrible. Okay. I know Mags is a massive fan of this. I didn't particularly enjoy the 1998 Royal Rumble personally. The 1999 one.
There we go.
Oh, for goodness sake. Stop muting people, Mags.
The 1999 one was bad in the sense of it was just the Vince McMahon Austin show. I get all the context to it, but the actual match itself, you didn't see any of it. It was just going backstage. That was all it was. Whereas for me, this specific Royal Rumble, it's just a lot of fun, and people were able to showcase what they could do. I recently, literally just the other day, listened to your Royal Rumble 92 review, which is absolutely brilliant. And you talk about Ric Flair and how everybody had the opportunity to actually fight Ric Flair. These complete nobody wrestlers, and actually had the opportunity to just have. That's what happened with The Rock in this. People actually had the opportunity to fight with a superstar in The Rock, and I personally think this is one of a more enjoyable Rumble, shall we say? I'm not saying it's amazing, but it's just enjoyable for what it is.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's no good. I'm not saying it's rubbish. I'm just saying that it's. I think it lacks a little star power. I'll say that, but I think it's hindered because of Austin being injured. I think it's hindered because of the Undertaker not being around. Triple H is obviously in the title picture. Foley's in the title picture. I think it's relatively clear that you can only really have maybe two potential winners. Whereas I like when you go into a Rumble, there's a handful of guys who could potentially win. You don't get that very often. Granted, I'm really, I understand normally it is one or two guys who are going to, look like they're going to win. So this is maybe more of a standard, but I enjoy it more when there's more potential, victors than just two, I guess. But there are still plenty of things in this that I did enjoy. I would just, if I was to put on a Royal Rumble randomly, there would be a good number that I would go to before this. But also, there's a lot that I would go to after this, shall we say, that this would be picked first.
Yeah, and from my point of view, I think Rumbles are a very basic match when it comes to the wrestling. It's always punch, punch, kick, kick, struggle to throw someone over. So for me, what makes a Rumble stand out is how it flows, which I think the 92 Rumble flows beautifully.
Yes.
And also the memorable spots. And on the sly, this has got some of the most memorable spots in Rumble history. It's just those little moments that make a Rumble special, like the Kyantar stuff, the Pete Gas almost killing himself, Mosh and his corn bra, the Too Cool dance, and then Rikishi throwing them both out the ring. It's got those things that make it stand out from a bog standard Royal Rumble for me, and it's fun. It's a fun Royal Rumble to watch.
I have to say that how long is the actual match itself?
About 50 minutes.
Yeah. So, okay, so it's a lot longer than I thought, which kind of clarifies what I'm about to say. So Mags always says this: if a match feels like 5 minutes, but it's actually 20 minutes, they've done a good job, whereas vice versa. Yep. And let's just put it this way: the Hogan Warrior match that we watched last week felt like an eternity, whereas this match, for me, just disappears. It just vanishes.
Oh, this is a million times better than that shit. I mean, let's get into it then. You say about there are certain moments that really sort of stand out to you in this Rumble itself and so on. I mean, there's one straight off the bat that begins it for me. We have Howard Finkel as the ring announcer. And there's always something special, I think, about Howard Finkel, the ring announcer at the Royal Rumble. And then he says, "Here are the rules." And you can almost collectively hear the crowd groan. But I kind of like that.
Yeah,
but he also mentions
you've got to remember this is a New York crowd, and they are some of the smarkiest crowds in the wrestling world. So
yeah, of course. He also says wrestlers will enter at regularly scheduled intervals of 2 minutes or less. Now, I really liked that because normally at a Rumble they say it's 95 was 60 seconds. Other Rumbles, they said it's 90 seconds. Other Rumbles, they've said it's 2 minute intervals. And they move it about anyway, just to suit with how the crowd's going and so on. Why not just say regularly scheduled intervals of 2 minutes or less? Because then you cover your ass and you can do what you want.
Yeah, pretty much. It absolutely makes sense. And let's not forget the time that the fans went absolutely mental because there was no Rumble clock. So, fans are incredibly fickle. So to give themselves that out by saying it's not going to be exactly 2 minutes or exactly 90 seconds. Yeah, it was a very smart move.
Yeah. I think the stage setting, the entranceway, is one of the more iconic pay-per-view entranceways. Obviously, when I think of Royal Rumble 2000, the pay-per-view, my mind goes to Foley Triple H. Because that's, to me, the match of the night, and it's probably one of the matches of the year, and up there, one of the best pay-per-view matches, especially involving Triple H, that you can probably bring to memory. But with the Rumble itself, it still looks quite iconic because, as with later Rumbles, Magsy, the one where Cena returns and so on, at Madison Square Garden, you're looking from the hard cam down the entranceway, and I quite like that.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen many Rumbles where the entrance ramp is so long, but yeah, it stands out when it's so short like this, and you are looking down the hard cam. I think that's a brilliant way to frame a Rumble.
Yeah, it's very good. We start with D'Lo Brown and Grandmaster Sexay. Now, I think this match, especially the first maybe say 10-15 minutes, I think it struggles with crowd reaction because of what came before it. You didn't have a buffer between the street fight and the Rumble. I'm not saying that women's wrestling should be that, but back in the days of certain Divas matches, that's kind of where they'd slide that match in for people to have a little bit of a breather. I'm not saying I want to go back to those days because now we have such fantastically talented, lady wrestlers all over the world. But I think you almost need something there to give people a bit of a break because the crowd almost seem tired at the start, don't they?
Yeah, which is weird because it's a relatively short pay-per-view, all told. I think it's less than 3 hours from beginning to end. But that street fight was an emotional roller coaster, so you can feel that the fatigue from that, and I think that's probably why there's a lot of love for the Kaientai run-ins, and then the dance with Rikishi and Scotty and Brian, because it's almost like a palate cleanser in the at the beginning of the Royal Rumble before we start getting into the heavy action, I suppose.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. We get a Kaientai run-in after maybe the third entrant.
Brilliant.
And these guys tickle me. It's so. I mean, obviously, we know one of them gets hurt later on, so we end up with just one individual running in, which kind of
is a bit of trivia. Actually, well, it's not even trivia. It is a question for you both. I mean, I'm sure there's probably other correct answers, but which other wrestler actually hurts himself quite badly in this match?
I know this, and it's the best. It's so underrated. It's Pete Gas.
Oh no! Oh yeah.
He nearly kills himself twice in the very few seconds he's in that ring. First of all, he brains himself on the rope, getting into the ring. Then he's clearly got a concussion, and Bradshaw throws him over the ropes, and he gets his arm trapped and nearly loses his arm. And then Bradshaw beats the living shit out of him in the entrance ramp as well. He had a horrid day.
Well, there's actually another answer.
It's
not a serious answer. Who?
Is it one of the headbangers hurts their ankle?
Yeah.
Calf?
Yeah, because Grandmaster Sexy does the bulldog.
Yes.
And he's clearly wincing like,
ankle,
God, you've really hurt me. Grandmaster Sexy goes over to him like, are you all right, mate? And it's obvious that it's like, you got to go now because you've gone and damaged your ankle. I always look at it because I'm just like, oh, God, nasty.
Yeah, it's not a good, we have Christian enter at number 4. And that was a weird one for me because he had odd music. Yeah, Christian with the hair. That's kind of how you remember him in the Edge and Christian tag team.
He came out really pissed off as well. He comes out immediately. It's just like fucking hell, and I'm just like, oh, who's annoyed him? Because that wasn't his character back then. So I was kind of like,
perhaps he was meant to have like a bit of a rumble with Mosh.
Possibly, yeah.
Than being tag teams, and that's his spot blown because he wasn't in it for long whatsoever, which I thought was really weird. Seeing Christian as we know him now, a massive star, for him to essentially be thrown out of the Rumble within 30 seconds, it just felt really weird.
Yes. At number 5, we have Rikishi, and I suppose this is the first bigger name of the era we're getting here. And the crowd love Rikishi, don't they?
Oh, they do. It's you look back at Too Cool and you think, what the hell is that? That is stuck. It's stuck in that time period. But you watch them work together and you think it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
I know. I'm sorry to interject. I know Danny agrees with me, but honestly, those 3 were behind The Rock as the most popular superstars of the time. They were huge, and it still angers me to this day. It's a bit like Chris Bellis getting angry with the 1992 stuff on WWF, but I get so annoyed that they made Rikishi turn heel with the whole running over Austin. It was the most stupidest thing they'd ever done. And honestly, his career just, the second everybody found out who ran over Austin, it destroyed his career. And I don't mean like in the sense of a storyline. I mean as in like you've had this guy that's like right at the top behind The Rock to just go, that's it. And it was just like, you idiots. And it really...
When they had the moment where he gets hit with a car, they didn't know who was going to be the culprit when they did it. So... I mean, what a wonderful piece of planning that is.
But this is the point. It's he did it for The Rock, uncle. But this is the point. It's a case of you could have just literally just had it as Triple H doing it. Anybody, but you decide now we're going to turn Rikishi heel, and he was honestly he could have, even if he just did a cane and held the belt for one day, title belt, just win, because he was so far over, and you believe that he could win the championship. You genuinely believe that, yeah, this guy could beat The Rock, he could beat Triple H, he could beat Kane, Big Show, whatever. All these wrestlers feared him, and yet, because what I love about this Royal Rumble match is that comes across so strong.
Yes.
He's so put over, and for 7-8 months later, for this massive rise to just literally just end like that. Because wasn't it? It must be you guys that mentioned this. That didn't he leave WWE quite soon after, like 2003, 2004? He left.
He wasn't about going into late 2000s, was he, Maxi? I don't think.
No, definitely not. Yeah, I think it was about 2003, 2004. Steve said, and I get why they wanted to push Rikishi into that. It was obviously a glass ceiling with Too Cool. I think he'd been Intercontinental Champion, and maybe it was a way to get him over that hump and to kind of balance out the heel and face dynamic of the WWF at the time. But yeah, Steve was absolutely right. It didn't work. It didn't really make sense in the terms of the storyline. But they wanted Rikishi to be bigger, and what they ended up actually doing was deflating his popularity.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Steve very spot on mentions here. Rikishi looks really strong during this match. I actually think he's given literally the Kane or the Diesel treatment from Kevin Nash in '94, because there are moments where he just eliminates people or stands and waits, and he looks and the crowd are loving that, aren't they?
He's almost like the Brock of this room.
Yeah,
because I think he eliminates maybe 7 people, but he's in the first 4 or 5 he's eliminated like 4 of them. He's given that monster push.
It's funny you say this, because, like I said, I've seen this match 15 times, whatever, and yet the way JR and King are talking, I still felt like this guy's going to win it. Like I'm genuinely taken in the whole story of everything, and I'm like, when Viscera comes out as an example, I'm just like, it throws me back in the day where me and my brother only liked the big guys. Like, we vaguely watched the 1995 era when he was Mabel and he became King of the Ring, and we've always loved the huge men, so the likes of Mabel, Big Show, and so on. And when Viscera comes out, I'm like, what? It's King. He says something here. I won't be able to read my own writing, but he essentially comes out, and King's always like, hold on a minute, we've got a new potential winner now. And I believed it.
Mm-hmm.
I believed it, because it all, again, what I loved about this era of, and I know Rob and Dan go on a lot about this on the UTT podcast, is that the 2000 era of Raws and SmackDowns, everybody were together. They were all had their roles in place. It didn't matter whether, we all know that The Rock was the biggest star, Triple H, and so on and so. We get all that. But everybody was treated as important as one another. All the stories were put together. So when I personally hear the commentators saying, like, this guy's got a chance of winning, I believed it. And I'm just like, yeah, he has got a chance of winning here, even though I know for a fact what happens. But I'm glad that I, like Mag says, you're a mark. Yeah.
Gentlemen, I'm going to have to very much quickly depart for 30 seconds. I will leave you two to discuss the brilliant Too Cool spot and how it came around, because this is one of those occasions where it gave me
wank.
Yeah, I will do. It's one of the occasions where it gave me a big grin on my face.
Boner. So as I said, let's get into it then. The spot with Rikishi, Brian Christopher, and Scotty Tuati. The crowd went mental for this, absolutely mental.
And this was at a stage where, because like I said, because of you and your change in attitude podcast, and the fact that I chose to watch the Raw and the SmackDown as we go up in the history of it, and I was watching these Raws and SmackDown. Too Cool were, I assumed, were an extremely popular act prior to this Royal Rumble. They weren't. No. There was a switch. There was a moment where it did turn. And it was because of Rikishi starting to dance around with the guys and them trying to get Rikishi involved. And that's when slowly their popularity was turning. And actually, ironically, this Royal Rumble is kind of like almost the start of their popularity. And this, what I loved about this, again, it's all about context. And it's like, oh God, I've got to face my mate now. I don't want to be doing this. And then Scotty Tuotti comes running out, and it's like, guys, we can't be fighting. We've got to be together here. And what do they do to get together? They dance. And like you said, it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely is. And then Rikishi does the dirty on the two guys, throws them out. But we see that it's all good in the end when
I'm glad you said that, because this is what pisses me off about today's kind of era and like recent stuff, is that today it's like, oh, it doesn't matter that I've thrown you over, whatever. Whereas there it's like, all right then, we're all in this to win the match. This is what I loved about this whole Royal Rumble. I don't care if you're D'Lo Brown, China, Chris Jericho, or The Rock. Each one, I genuinely believed. Even today, I'm like, you've got an opportunity of winning here. Because why? Because they actually wanted to win the fucking match, rather than what they do these days, which is just going to sit in a corner. But you haven't done anything. Whereas like later on, you see Test legitimately sat there like... because he's actually been fighting people. It's the same with various other wrestlers, like with Road Dogg hiding in the corner. It's like there's context to it because he's a chicken shit coward. I get all that.
That was
but
clever,
today
though.
it's just like we're just going to sit around for the next guy to come out to do his spot, and then we're just going to sit around again and do the next spot. And you can again, it just annoys me.
You're absolutely right, though.
I am back, by the way, gentlemen. Thank you for that. Whereabouts did we get to?
We were
Too
still
cool
on
dancing.
Yeah, too cool dancing, and then Rikishi eliminating his buddies, and then them essentially giving him the all clear to go on and win the Rumble, which unfortunately he doesn't. But
no, he doesn't. He doesn't. But I mean, Steve-O mentions their Road Dogg and his sort of tactics underneath the bottom rope, clinging on for life so he can't get grabbed to be eliminated and so on. I thought that was very clever because it's different, isn't it? It's different to what we get. And I think with Rikishi as well, we've seen him eliminate, what do you say, Maxie, like 7 people or something like that? He has a great run, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he eliminates the first 7, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, in fact, just to go on my believability here, I think it's King. In fact, it is King that says, you talk about he literally says, you talk about your Kanes, your Big Shows, The Rock. Who's going to eliminate Rikishi? And you're like, yeah, you're right. Who is going to eliminate Rikishi? And then, sorry to because I know you're going to be saying this side, but then Viscera comes out and he's even bigger than Rikishi, and it's true.
It's good storytelling. It's good timing, isn't it?
Again, with Viscera coming in though, and you are outside, he's absolutely superb storytelling, but that shows just how much faith they had in Rikishi, because he eliminates Viscera single-handed, and normally with guys of Viscera size, it's a team effort. It's usually like 8 people versus 1, and they lean him on the ropes and eventually tip him over. But with Rikishi, I think there's a missed splash, and then Rikishi does a couple of super kicks, and then does a shot. Is it 3 super kicks?
Those super kicks look fantastic as well, didn't they? Sorry, Matthew, they were so good.
And then the shoulder block to get him out, and that. Like Steve said, at the time, you could definitely pin Rikishi as potentially a winner, because he's eliminating everyone in his path, and he's taking out the biggest guys on his own. So there's no reason why this guy couldn't go on to win the Rumble.
But again, it comes down to, I mean, believability, like Steve-O said, but the storytelling as well, because we go back to 94 with Diesel. Diesel was just a bodyguard then. He came in, effectively, he was a background character. By the time he left, they were chanting his name because of what he did in the Rumble. I mean, he ran through guys like Virgil and so on. It's not like he was, destroying big names, but it made it the way he was put across, the way he was portrayed, it made him look like a star. The same with Kane, 2001. Kane in 2001 looked a star, and there's a big argument that he potentially should have won that Rumble because he was so over with that. Rikishi here, I wouldn't have an issue with him winning that Rumble, to be fair. Obviously, we know what we're going to with WrestleMania 16, and The Rock is the choice that, is relatively obvious before the match starts. And you're not really going to go against that. But I wouldn't have been that averse to seeing Rikishi
back
at
then
that time.
But back then, they could create stories in which you were like, yeah, Rikishi, say, wins the Royal Rumble. And then the following night on Raw, whoever comes out and says, I think it's a disgrace that Rikishi won the Royal Rumble. He's not world title contender. I'm the number one contender. Me and him face off. And then the real number one contender, I don't know, the Big Show or whatever, wins or whatever.
At WrestleMania, from this, we go to a fatal 4-way anyway for the world title.
Yeah.
It could have worked.
And it's happened before when Austin won the Rumble. He didn't end up getting the title match at WrestleMania anyway.
Yeah, well, there you go. Another, I suppose, tactic by an entrant. We have the Boss Man come out, and the Boss Man.
This whole couple of minute segment is brilliant.
He's seen Rikishi run through guys. He's seen Rikishi eliminate people, and a guy the size of Viscera, as you two have just brilliantly explained. So the Boss Man comes out. He's in no rush.
Well, before the Boss Man comes out, Viscera says to him, "Get him. You get him out. It's great."
Yeah, and the Boss Man, he takes his time. He stalls a great deal. He walks around, and then we hear Test's music, and Test runs out and starts brawling with the Boss Man. And then I've got a note here saying that eventually we see the Bulldog come out as well, and we have a little spell where everyone punches everyone else in the dick.
It's Bad Santa. It's just brilliant. Punches in the bollocks. It's amazing. I think Boss Man punches Test, then Rikishi punches Boss Man, and then is it Bulldog punches Rikishi in the bollocks. It's brilliant. Brilliant.
I've got a note here that says, I'm already more invested in this match than I am so far of 3 months of 2011, because the storytelling is there. It makes me want to believe everything. And talking to the British Bulldog, when JR says, viewers watching on Channel 4, it's like, even now I'm just like, oh yeah, he mentions the fact that we're on Channel 4. And I remember at the time I was like, yeah, he's mentioning us. It's really weird, but it's true.
It's like when somebody says, Mick Foley's a good example. I love it here in Anaheim, and the crowd all cheer. Yeah, that's where I'm from. That's what it's like. Yeah, we're watching Channel 4. Gangrel arrives at 12. What a banging entrance theme that is, by the way.
Not just that, but it's when Tess puts his hand over, grabs his hair, and he was not expecting it. He's just like,
yes,
it's brilliant.
Yeah. And one thing I did notice though, he puts his sunglasses in his blood cup. I've never noticed that before. I mean, I've watched this multiple times, and this is the first time I noticed he puts his sunglasses in the blood. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, but a big part of Gangrel coming out at 12 is, I suppose, it's the timing. It's the ticking of the box for Kai and Tai to arrive again.
Yeah, brilliant.
And one of them dies.
Pretty much, he definitely does smash his face square into the floor.
It's not good look, is it? Because as soon as he hits the deck, there's blood splatter. It's not like he's dripping blood or he has a nosebleed or anything like that. Literally, as soon as he bounces on that, face first on the crash mat, we can see spots of blood straight away.
Oh, is that what I've always thought that was genuinely water or sweat? It's blood,
I think it's blood straight away, mate. Yeah, I think it's blood straight away. I mean, again, I could be completely wrong with this, but I always took it as blood.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Bob Backlund arrives as a bit of a surprise.
I mean, of all the wrestlers, Bob Backlund coming back, it's weird. It's cool, Bob Backlund. But yeah, for him to come in, and I think he was very popular with the old school New York wrestling crowd. So yeah, it was good to see him get a bit of time and a bit of props. But yeah, weird. And this is another thing about a Rumble that is fun because you can get things like this. A wrestler who you may have not seen for a decade coming back. I mean, we had it recently with Mickie James as the Impact Women's Champion, and she came in and was in the WWE Royal Rumble. So yeah, it's cool moments like that.
You're spot on with saying Backlund in the sort of New York market, I guess. He held the WWF. Was it WWF at the time?
I think it was WWF. Yeah.
Right. He held that championship for 6 years. He was the one who he dropped it to the Iron Sheik so Sheik could drop it to Hogan for Hogan's first world title. Right. So this is going back to the very early 80s. We're looking at his 6-year reign ended trail end of 83, beginning of 84. So we're in territory days. WWF was very much a New York territory. Madison Square Garden was their home arena. He had been their champion for 6 years. So him arriving back in Madison Square Garden was a massive deal to those fans. Not so much me at home, but it was a big deal to them.
Yeah, and Benny says in the chat, wasn't he running for political office at the time? No, I think this
commentary said, yeah.
But I think a lot of his characters was him thinking he was running for office, or he was in an important political job, but he was really just a lunatic.
Right. Rikishi then departs shortly afterwards.
Well, I'm surprised you didn't mention Edge, because I know Benny.
Oh yes,
Benny Mac
carry on.
about the fact that he genuinely popped recently for Edge when he returned. I was surprised at Edge's pop in this particular Rumble, and then we get the classic racist. What a poor Chinese guy getting thrown out, and then JR does his quiet Japanese.
Yeah.
It's funny, but you kind of think, yeah, this is a bit.
Well, it's one of those things. You get it a lot with Jerry Lawler, don't you? It's of its time.
Yes,
doesn't make it okay. I think even as far back as 2000, which is 22 years ago, it's of its time. And Lawler had a habit of saying things that were uncomfortable when you look back on them now. But I think back then that was still not okay.
Yeah, I agree with you. Absolutely. But that was the character Jerry Lawler was going for, and technically still does now. Yeah, just a bit on the nose.
Yeah, it weren't great. And the fact that he kept revisiting the same joke was a bit, okay. If it comes like the once and you get corrected, I'm not saying it's okay, but
there's a point later where the king JR genuinely snaps, and he's just like, he's Japanese.
Yeah, stop being so xenophobic.
Yeah, that's it. Yep, there you go. Your boy arrives, Magsy, to a great reaction. Old Chris Jericho,
babyface Chris Jericho, and he gets rid of Bob Backlund. So piss off,
and
crazy guy, and then you get the square off with Edge.
And also the crowd actually, I'd never heard this before until today. Everybody's actually singing his theme. They all chant "Break the Wall Down" together in song.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I mean, Jericho here is. I mean, again, we said it earlier on the show. The guy's an absolute superstar. He's a top level Hall of Famer, isn't he? He's going to be in every Hall of Fame you can imagine. He will eventually, I think, have another WWE run before he retires and then go into the Hall of Fame. But yeah, there we go. Crash Holly arrives as well. And the reason I bring Crash Holly up is because it's quite sad. This week, I think it was yesterday, was the 19th anniversary of his passing. Which when you think about 19 years. So I think that's
wow.
You look how young the guy is here, and the fact that he wasn't long for this world, shall we say, and took his own life at such a young age. It's incredibly sad when you see the guy and his time as carrying the scales and saying he weighed 400 pounds and all that sort of stuff. I think Crash Holly, again, never going to be a main eventer, but not everyone can. I think in the role he was in the position on the card he was in, such an incredibly entertaining individual, boys.
But this again goes back to the 2000, late 99, but specifically the early 2000 era where every wrestler mattered. It didn't matter what their gimmick was. Every wrestler mattered. In fact, I know, ironically, I just stopped watching it because I knew everything that was going to happen. I'm just like, I just want to go to 2011 now. But weirdly enough, the 24/7 hardcore belt hadn't even come into play yet. It was quite near WrestleMania time that the 24/7 belt came. It was like like maybe 3-4 weeks before it, when Crash Holly basically when he says like, I can defend this title 24/7 if I want to, and that's pretty much what happened. But I didn't see any of this, unfortunately, through choice. But the SmackDown episodes were devoted to the 24/7 hardcore thing. There was a lot of segments devoted to Crash Holly defending the title in Hotel, funny enough, revolving around the Mean Street Posse and stuff. And like you said, the role that he did as a comedy wrestler or whatever was absolutely brilliant. And again, you believed it.
Yeah.
You believed it, and it was really enjoyable.
So you mentioned there, and again, I suppose I'm going to contradict myself a little bit here. I said there's not masses of star power in this Rumble. There's obviously a lot of recognizable names. There's obviously a lot of people who won numerous titles and had great matches. But I think it does suffer because of Austin, Taker not being there and so on.
Yeah.
But so many of these guys were busy with storylines, whether they were in tags or mid-card title situations or whatever. Everyone had something to do. Now, I'm going to defend a guy here that gets a lot of grief. Something that so many wrestlers in the mid to late 90s say about WWF booking is that the guy in charge at that time, not in charge, that was obviously McMahon, but the head booker at that time, one of the guys very high up in the creative process, Vince Russo, one of the things that he did well was he made sure everybody had something to do.
Yes.
Matches and screen time weren't just there for the sake of it, weren't just there for filling TV minutes. Now, he left for WCW in October of 99. If you listen to Russo, he says that what they had spoke about for the next 6 to 8 months was already effectively laid out.
Yeah.
And what happened on WWF TV was a variation of that. Things did change, but everyone kind of had something to do. You go past that kind of 6, 8, 9 month period, which includes this Rumble, WrestleMania, and into SummerSlam and so on, and go into 2001. Obviously, you had the WCW purchase come into it, and the invasion angle changed a few things. But you do kind of start seeing people just milling about without a real purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that does kind of back up what Russo has said about, how he wrote TV, and what wrestlers at the time also said about what Russo did for them. Especially lower guys, they would have a purpose if they were on the screen.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. It was when WWF started to really focus on the main card, and that's it. So you're right. A lot of wrestlers sat in catering or on TV, but for no particular reason, no particular story angle, just to be a number or a body for a main star to beat up. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Edge punches Bulldog in the dick.
and spanks Crash Holly a lot.
Yeah, that's a strange one for me.
That was weird.
And then Chyna arrives. I forgot she was in this. Obviously, I know she was the first lady in a Royal Rumble, but I remember that Rumble.
I've just got a note here as well, talking of this Rumble in general, that I've just literally written, I like the fact that people actually want to eliminate people. Again, you don't see it these days. Like, I love the fact that I don't care how staged it is. Like, at least we're seeing some effort to throw people over the ropes or whatever. And you just mentioned Chyna here. I just love the way she gets eliminated. It's so simple. And it doesn't look staged. It's bloody hell, you've just eliminated Chris Jericho here. You've just literally for a split second turn around to go, ha, and then bang, she's out.
Yeah.
It's not like she stood there for 15 minutes going, yeah, look at me. And then we're thinking, is someone going to eliminate her? It's literally just, I'm now out. It's brilliantly done, I think.
Yeah.
It comes back to something that we talk about a lot on NXT Rise and Fall, and I think we touched upon it on Nitro Nights as well, with regards to wanting to win the match.
Yes.
It's very easy to go from move to move to move. Well, I say easy, it's not, because these guys are incredibly talented. But what I mean is, when you're in the ring doing certain things, you have certain spots you want to hit. Everyone, I suppose the term is, wants to get their shit in, maybe, is the term you see sometimes. So everyone's going, okay, I've done that move now, I want to get to that move. I've done that move now, I want to get to that move. when you see people actively trying to pin their opponent in the first couple of minutes in a match, it's great because they're trying to win. It's supposed to be a sporting contest. So the same goes for this here. You should be trying to eliminate people, but not in the way that you see so many wrestlers balancing on the rope and it's that kind of back and forth nonsense that you get a lot. You know, people, the China situation, there was an opportunity, someone took it. You know, and that's, I think that makes a massive difference in what we're watching when it comes to the believability level.
Yep.
So yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm glad we all agree. We do get Farouk coming down.
He looked good, didn't he? He looked good.
Oh, he always does, always ripped. And then we get the Mean Street Posse running in. Now, they attack Farouk here, and he ends up eliminated relatively quickly. Steve-O, you're going to have to fill in the blanks here, or Magsy yourself. I don't know the grief that the Mean Street Posse had with the Acolytes at the time. Was there a reason for this?
Again, Mags is going to know this because Mags is the encyclopedia, but it's something to do with the tag team championships and not getting the opportunities. Okay. I think I could be completely wrong, but it's something about that. Is that right, Mags, or am I completely off the
I mean, that's a part of it. I think this was the sowing of the seeds for the APA, the Acolyte Protection Agency, because a few weeks after this, the Mean Street Posse, I think it's the episode when the Radicals show up, and the Mean Street Posse threatened to beat up the Radicals, who lay waste to the Mean Street Posse, and then they go back to the APA, who want to beat them up because of what's happened over the last few weeks, and they offer money to the Acolytes to protect them, and that gives Bradshaw the idea behind APA. And there's a whole segment where he's drawing APA on a piece of paper, and it's a big capital P and two little A's. So yeah, it was all to sow the seeds of the Acolytes coming away from being part of the ministry to being the APA.
Okay. Road Dogg also enters, and I love this because the crowd join in the cheering and sort of singing his catchphrase, I guess.
Again, like we've said, it was so popular. If you had any kind of like markability, you got over in this era of WWE, because Road Dogg was massively popular.
He enters the ring. They do a bit of stuff around the ring, and then Test punches him in the dick. So
it was just the go-to move.
Yeah.
I mean, normally it's clotheslines and forearms and then struggling to throw someone over. This year, 2000 was whack him in the cock.
I've got a note here which says the Road Dogg just goes straight after Test. After Test is trying to get a breather, he's already straight onto him. And then the King, pretty much, from my opinion, representing us, the audience, says, when is The Rock going to come out? When is he actually going to come out? And I'm thinking, yeah, when is our main man, The Rock, going to actually come out?
Mm-hmm. Did you say he's representing the audience there? For me, I got a little bit annoyed with him saying this all the time, because it was almost every entrant was, is this The Rock? Is this The Rock? Is this The Rock? And it's like, I understand they're trying to build The Rock up, of course, but on one hand, I think maybe it belittled the people that were coming in. And again, we come back to that thing of maybe I think it lacks a little bit of star power, because every person who wasn't The Rock, all of a sudden I thought, okay, it's not The Rock. But then, is it not foreshadowing potentially? Again, we come back to the potential winners. We all know the Big Show's a big deal at this point. Rikishi's had a good showing. And then you've got The Rock. That's kind of it. So by talking about him in the way they are, does it not maybe foreshadow where they're going to go at the end? I could be being really nitpicky there. I'm just asking the question.
I mean, from my personal perspective, I want to see the biggest stars, and I want. It sounds really weird, but you kind of answered the reason why you hate it is why I like it. I like the fact that there's someone saying, "I want to see The Rock. Where's The Rock? Where's The Rock?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. I do want to see this guy come out, and I just want to see him. That's all I want to do. I want to see, because at the end of the day, wrestling is built around certain particular wrestlers. I mean, at the moment, again, with my very little knowledge, it's built around Roman Reigns.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to ask any member of the public down the street, can you name a wrestler? Most are going to go, "Oh, you mean Hulk Hogan?" And then there's a chance they may say The Rock or Stone Cold Steve Austin. There's a chance, but are they going to name anyone else after 2000? Probably not. And you'd be
Cena,
lucky
maybe.
if someone said Roman. Who?
Cena, maybe, just because he's crossed into movies now.
Possibly, yeah. But back then you had just The Rock, and it's just like, yeah, I just want to see The Rock. And whereas like now it's just all about, like I say, with Roman Reigns. I know it's a different time now and everything, but certainly everything's always built around one person in WWE. And I was glad that the King was saying it, but I'm gladly happy agree that we disagree, so to speak.
Okay, Magsy, do you think maybe it would have been better coming from Jim Ross as the play-by-play guy, as opposed to Jerry Lawler, who was maybe supposed to be the heel commentator then?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I get why they were doing that, because it was a little threadbare in upper echelon talent, I suppose. So you want to make sure the viewers and the crowd still are aware that The Rock is coming in the show. But for me, one of the cool things about a Rumble is being so invested in it that you forget that there's these big stars still to come in it, and then you get that, and then you get that huge pop when their music hits, and you go, "Oh shit! This is who this is the winner. This is who I've been waiting for." You get, I mean, how many times have you watched a Rumble where you didn't even realize this was the 28 of the people coming in have been in, because you're that invested. So I think Jerry talking about The Rock over and over and over again took away a little bit of that, because he's putting The Rock back fresh in your mind, I suppose, so that The Rock is coming, rather than be surprised when he turns up, I suppose.
Yeah. Oh, that makes a lot of sense, I think, mate. That makes a lot of sense. We get another run-in from Kai and Tai, but on this occasion, it's just Funaki on his own.
I mean, what a trooper that he's seen his friend be took to a medical facility, potential concussion, and I think Benny and Josh in the chat say that he had some real issues. He had broken collarbone, a brain hemorrhage, things like that. But Funaki doesn't give up, and he doesn't say, "No, I'm not doing it anymore." He just does the run-ins on his own. What a trooper! Yeah. That's why he's the number one announcer.
Exactly. At this stage, I think we've gone back to what we had at the beginning, where the crowd seem a little flat, maybe a little quiet. There's not much going on with regards to the audience, but I mean, I've made a little list here. In the ring, I mean, some of these guys go on to be big deals. Edge is the best example, and he got a good reaction when he came to the ring. However, he's been in the ring a little while now. None of these are main event level guys, or even sort of top end of mid card. We've got Crash Holly, the Boss Man, Edge, Al Snow, Val Venus, Road Dogg, Albert, and Test. And this is the occasion where I think we're filling the ring up for someone to come in and clear the ring.
Yeah.
With the amount of Royal Rumbles I've watched in my time, that's kind of the way I lean towards when I see that sort of scenario.
But it doesn't happen.
No,
it genuinely doesn't happen. It's the Rock comes out, I believe, and like I said earlier, this is like the Ric Flair moment where everybody gets a shot. I think the Rock, in fact, I know the Rock eliminates one person, and then he's already attacked by someone, and that's it. The Rock does nothing. In fact, the Rock is pretty quiet in this.
He knocks out Bossman. I think it's Bossman he takes out.
Yeah. And he's to be fair, the Rock is actually quite quiet, because there are so many people that want to eliminate the Rock that he can't do anything. And again, it goes back to my point. It's like, I love the fact that people are trying to win this match and trying to eliminate each other, as demonstrated by, spoiler alert, with Mr. Ass eliminating Road Dogg. They're there to win the match.
Yes, I like that.
And it's great. And I've got another note here where it says, like, I love the fact that the commentary is so free flowing. It's a free flowing conversation. It's not, Michael Cole says his bit and then it's next person, the next person, back to Michael Cole. Like with these computer game style segments, it's just two blokes talking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think with regards to commentary, I mean, again, we spoke about it earlier in the show, and I've said it so many times. Jim Ross for me is the greatest to ever do it. He works well with Lawler. And he works so many other characters. He works well with. Also, I've done a bit of commentary myself. To do wrestling commentary is easy. Anyone can do it. You can sit there. You can name moves. You can fill airtime with the sound of your voice, whatever. To do wrestling commentary well. Now that is really, really difficult. And I think this is a good example of commentary done so well, but it comes across like it's easy.
Yeah, and a prime example would be when I reviewed the WrestleMania 27 with Dan and Rob, JR returns.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it's literally night and day between the difference between him commentating and Michael Cole and King. It is literally night and day. You can tell that JR's just talking, whereas these two have got the annoying script as an example.
And Vince McMahon shouted in the rear.
Yeah.
Which Jim Ross had as well, mind. He used to get destroyed by McMahon in his ear. And you see Jim Ross when he comes out for commentary at any point, whether it's now or back in the day, or you get a shot of his desk. There's notes everywhere. And the fact that he is so good at what he does comes into how much preparation he puts in.
I was going to say my naive point of view would be, for me, it's research on the matches.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, if there's a lull in the action or if there's a quiet moment, you need something to say. You can't just go, "Oh yeah, they're standing there," or "Oh yeah, there's another clothesline." That's when you get Jim Ross filling those moments with their history in college sports or whatever,
Yeah, but you're right. It's building up a character, what their background is, and like I know we're going on a very long time here, but it's good conversation. And there's a bit it's happened 2 times now in the 2011 era where quite literally there are moments where where the Miz and John Cena are fighting each other, and there's no commentary. It's just silence, and I'm like, great, we're just watching 2 blokes. Who cares? Like, I need to be told a story of what's going on. I know what's going on, but I want to know the significance. And the commentators telling us what to do. Happened twice. It's like being back in the coronavirus era, but rather than not having fans, we've got no commentary. And I'm just like, great, I'm seeing the Miz ram his head through a steel door. So, like, I need someone. Again, is it just me being a naive idiot? Yeah.
No.
I want the commentator to tell me something.
I'm a firm believer that a commentator gives you the soundtrack of what you're seeing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, we've spoke about the Hogan and Rock match. If you watch that without commentary, it's awful. Commentary and the crowd that makes that a must-see match.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you are right.
Yeah, without a doubt. You mentioned The Rock arriving. He is number 24. Big reaction, of course, and we get the camera angle from much further back in Madison Square Garden, looking at the crowd react, and it's obvious. And again, this comes back to my mindset of a lack of big top star quality in this match, because he got a completely different angle for camera angle for his entrance. The crowd reacted completely differently. We're getting told the whole time, this is the star, this is the guy, with everything that WWE are doing here, which is the right thing to do because they know where he's going, so it's important. He comes into the ring, and as you said, Steve-O, there's no big clearance, and that surprised me because I thought The Rock, and again, I think this leads to the crowd almost quietening down a bit again. If The Rock had come in,
sorry to interject. The clearance comes,
carry on, please.
Well, the clearance comes in a minute because actually, a bit of, without wanting to patronise you, because again, I know nothing compared to you two, but I didn't realise how over the Big Show was prior to this Royal Rumble. So it was only
totally.
It was only a few weeks back that the Big Show was a massive superstar. And I don't mean him physical specimen. I mean as in like he was being
He was
pushed.
world champion. Yeah,
He was, yes. He became heel because why? And it goes down the whole route of what was it? You said 36 heel face turns. One of them was because The Rock called everybody in the locker room a jabroni, and Big Show. It's a terrible storyline, and Big Show goes, "I don't like the fact that you call me a jabroni," and it's like, so you've turned your back on all these fans that legitimately loved you to go, I'm going to stick a middle finger up at you lot because this guy called me a jabroni, but it wasn't just me; he called everybody, and it's terrible. I didn't realize, but this was all brand new to me, and I'm just thinking that's why the Big Show became a heel because of that, and I think that's why people are a bit confused. Like, do we boo this guy? Do we cheer him? I don't quite understand. They knew that they had to boo him, but they were kind of in two minds because when, again, I don't want to take over the spotlight with you, Si, but when the Big Show does come out, you know, business is going to pick up and he does clear house and it shows how strong and powerful this bloke is.
Steve-O, you're absolutely spot on the money. I was surprised when The Rock didn't clear house. I was surprised when The Rock didn't come in and do his, you know, punch, step away, punch again, guy goes over the top rope and all that sort of stuff. And I think the crowd were affected by this because the crowd were obviously lively as hell, Magsy, weren't they, from The Rock entered, but they dropped off a bit because he was cut off quite quick.
Really quick, yeah.
Yeah, but in hindsight, it is good storytelling because how many times have they gone to that well of a big face character coming in and cleaning house? They didn't do that in this, so the fans were expecting it, didn't get what they expected. They leaned into one of The Rock's best assets is his selling. He's really good at selling when he's getting beat up. And then they also had Big Show a couple of spots later on who they know could legitimately clear the house. Yeah. So why have the Rock have that massive face pop when he cleans out the ring when they could just have Big Show come out, clean out the ring, and then Rock get an even bigger face pop when he's the person who eliminates Big Show. It's booking 101 for me. You circumvent what the fans are expecting and then give them something much bigger at the end.
Magsy, you're absolutely spot on the money. That's a brilliant description.
Thanks. I mean, a broken watch is correct twice a day, I suppose.
Oh, you sell yourself short, mate. The Big Show does come in, literally, as Steve-O said, a couple of spots later. He's number 26. So we're fast approaching the end of the Rumble now. Bradshaw arrives.
Oh, yeah. Beast.
And this, I think this is a little bit of a telltale sign here as to whether the management have different ideas or whether Bradshaw is already at a point in his career where he's saying, hang on a second there, lads, I'm not doing that. Because the Mean Street Posse run in when Farouk enters and get the better of Farouk. The Mean Street Posse run in when Bradshaw enters and Bradshaw's like, I ain't selling for these bastards.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
And he wastes them, Magsy, doesn't he?
Well, he wastes two of them. One of them wastes himself. But yeah. I think this was to show that Bradshaw was a genuine hard case wrestler because he just destroys all three of the Mean Street Posse. It does lead to them to Bradshaw being eliminated. I think it's by the Outlaws.
Yeah.
But yeah, he just lays waste to him, and they don't look like punches that are being pulled. They look like he's proper ham-bone in those fuckers. Yeah.
Yes.
Then they start fighting down the aisle, which is just fantastic.
Poor Pete Gas, though. Poor Pete. I feel so sorry for him because he nearly dies twice and then gets chinned by Bradshaw.
Kane arrives at 28. And again, this is where I suppose we're getting into, some of the bigger names of the time, because Kane is quite a big, prominent character at this point in his career. Yeah. Well, pretty much for whole of his career, I guess. The Godfather is in at 29. brings some young ladies with him, much to Jerry Lawler's joy and excitement. And then we
I
get another
always find
Funaki
the-
run in.
Well, no, this is the thing. I always find the bit where the hoe slips over. That's always a memory that
Yes.
stuck in me. She walks in, she's like, slips over, and it's just the way JR goes for the love of Pete, and then it's it's the little Chinese guy. He's Japanese. It's so good.
Yeah, JR is he's had enough by the end of this match. He's like, I'm sick of his bullshit.
And then he comes in with them. Is there any good Chinese hospitals around here? And he just goes, "Would you stop that?"
It's that stage you're thinking, Jerry Lawler, man, just stop. That's enough. I mean,
Yes.
JR's great, but Lawler, you're thinking that's enough, man. That's not.
But he
That's
keeps asking for the replay of Taka's
Yes.
eliminations. And then I think it might be the last time he plays it, or maybe the second to last time. But he does boink. He says,
Yes.
"Oh," and here he goes, and he goes boink, and that will
it.
stick forever. That's it. Now that is known as the boink.
Yeah, that was good. X-Pac is our last entrant at number 30.
Yeah, and there's 8 people in when X-Pac comes in.
Mm.
Just
Yeah,
seems
that's
such
quite a lot.
Yeah.
That's quite a lot. But the ring does clear quite quickly. Billy Gunn, as we mentioned earlier, eliminates the Road Dogg, which leads to a bit of a quarrel between them. We get to our final 4, however, because as I said, the ring clears relatively quickly at this point. And our final 4 is Kane, X-Pac, The Rock, and The Big Show, which I think a Rumble that I said maybe lacks a little bit of star quality isn't too shabby, really.
No,
No,
and there's 2 storylines there as well.
Yes, yeah.
Which
Okay.
for me is a good thing. Coming towards the end of a Royal Rumble, you've got to have something to play off after the Rumble's finished, and obviously Big Show and The Rock is going to be a huge storyline. But X-Pac and Kane and the kind of love triangle with Tori and X-Pac rejoining DX. That's a storyline that kind of goes a little bit under the radar on this Rumble, but it certainly does pick up over the weeks after this. So I'm glad that kind of got a little bit of a show, especially with X-Pac being thrown out, then sneaking his way back in to eliminate Kane. I thought that was a pretty good move.
Yeah, the refs miss it, don't they? Because they're dealing with some fighting on the outside. Was it the Bradshaw Mean Street Posse stuff, I think, wasn't it?
I think it was.
Yeah.
Oh no! Oh, was when the Outlaws were trying to attack Kane? I think it was that.
Oh yeah, no, you're right, Magsy. Yeah, you're right. X-Pac does eliminate Kane, having already been eliminated himself, and then X-Pac is eliminated himself by the Big Show. So we're down to our final 2
after a Bronco Buster.
Well, let's not fucking talk about that. The crowd here, though, are probably the most lively they've been since The Rock's entrance. They are fully invested now. So we're down to the final 2. This is exciting. And it's the 2 that you kind of could predict at the start, potentially, isn't it? It's the 2 that you know is going to go there. Talk us through the last few minutes, gentlemen, and Big Show's efforts to eliminate The Rock. The Rock's in control for a while. Talk us through what we see.
Steve-O, take the wheel.
Well, as I've got here, it's just the dominance of the Big Show in general, really showing his power, his strength, his size over these people. I mean, I've got a note here saying how he makes the Godfather look small. You know, the Godfather, as JR says, he's 6'8", 300 pounds. He makes him look like a child. Same with The Rock. The Rock's what, 6'4", 6'5", I believe. 200. Back then, he would have been about 265 pounds, something like that.
Yeah, 265 is what he's billed at. Yeah,
absolute child. And they get their usual trademark moves and everything like this, but Big Show's always got the upper hand because of his size and strength. And the Big Show goes to throw The Rock over. The Rock holds onto the ropes, and of course, then Show goes over, and The Rock wins, and it starts a story off which, I'm not going to lie, at the time I thought, based on my DVDs, was amazing. Actually, in retrospect, looking at it in the context, it's terrible. It's really, really poor because it just goes on and on and on a bit too long.
Well, let's sorry, Steve. Sorry to interrupt, but let's pick your mind on that then, because you do your wrestling history rewatches, and you record some of them for your podcast with certain eras, and you really properly dive into these times, don't you? You sort of look at every Raw, every SmackDown, and discuss all sorts of stuff, and it's fascinating to listen to. But
It's
this
just that I've got an
era,
opinion more than anything. But you go on.
which is great, which is exactly what podcasting is, and I value your opinion. But this era here, I watch the pay-per-views, I would dip in and out of the TV, and even now, God knows what, 20 odd years later, I'm not seeing masses of what goes on here. So, with regards to the storyline that takes us from this Rumble through No Way Out to WrestleMania, from outside looking in, just getting segments, I think it was well done. But you're saying watching the week-to-week television, it was quite drawn out.
Yeah, it's just it seemed to be one segment per show where Big Show would have to try and get proof to show Triple H that the Rock's feet or Rocky's feet hit the floor first, and it just dragged on for so bloody long. And very similar to when Mags talks about when Austin became the main player from King of the Ring 96. It's like Mags says, no, he didn't. That didn't happen until 97. And even then, it wasn't until WrestleMania 98 where he fights Shawn Michaels, where he really has become the Austin that we know and love.
God
and
bless
in this
changing attitude, man. A much missed show.
Agreed.
Much missed show.
And really, with this whole Big Show Rock feud, I was just surprisingly bored out of my mind. I just didn't find it interesting because, again, Big Show for me, it's obvious that clearly, and based on things that my brother's told me and from what he's heard through podcasts and stuff, there are a lot of issues with Paul White, the man, not the wrestler. And I can tell by the way his physique changes and the way he acts that I think he just seems to think he's better than what he actually is.
Right. Okay.
And whether it's right or wrong, it's as if, like you made this point about Big Show, and me and my brother are massive Big Show. We were Big Show fans. Like we believe, like what you say, which is he was an attraction. You shouldn't be putting him on TV every bloody week. And I don't know. It's something in which watching in chronological order, where I'm just like, meh. Like who cares?
Okay.
Who cares that the Rock's feet touch the floor first? Like I'm just Triple H in this point. It's like, well, it's great proof, but have you got anything better? Yeah, I don't care. Like, but the way, like you talk about WWE, the way they do promo packages, it is one of the best in the business. I'm not gonna lie, it's phenomenal. They could turn.
It's the best. There's no one else has ever. WCW, Jim Crockett Promotions, TNA, New Japan, AEW, any recap. No one comes close. WWE
I was
is
thinking this
top dog.
Yeah, I was thinking this today when I watched the Crown Jewel match between Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar, and I was like, oh, Sai is right. I don't need to watch the weekly TV to understand what the story is, because they put the package together. And they're a bit like the opposite of what a trailer does for a film. A trailer is supposed to like give you an insight into what the film's about, so you go out and watch it at the cinema or whatever, or Netflix these days. But actually, ironically,
I guess.
yeah. Whereas ironically, the film has actually got so much within it. Actually, they've probably missed out all the best bits within the trailer. Whereas ironically in WWE, they literally take the best bits of what's gone on, put it all together. It's just like, oh, I don't need to watch the other crap that was broadcast to us.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, like I said, I just found with the Big Show Rock stuff was just so boringly done that I just didn't care, mate. I just didn't care at all.
Magsy, yourself?
Yeah, I think what Steve says makes a lot of sense. I remember watching an Undertaker kind of like shoot interview, and he spoke about being partnered up with the Big Show, and it was it was actually his idea. So because Big Show, Undertaker says he has all the tools to be one of the best wrestlers in the world. He's athletic, he's huge, he's a specimen of a guy, but he phones it in so much. And Undertaker was talking about when Big Show put on a lot of weight. And I think that this was the period because he's wearing more T-shirts now, obviously to cover up his more rotund body. And Undertaker...
Well, actually, sorry to interject. This is from, again, I could be completely speaking absolute fucking bollocks. But from a personal training background, actually, I can see that Big Show's taking steroids. Mm-hmm. I can see that he's actually training in the gym because he's preparing for WrestleMania. And me and my brother both agree that WrestleMania is his best physique. He's got a huge set of shoulders. He just is an absolute animal. And me and my brother always like a bit of a sidetrack. We always say, like, imagine if he ever competed in World's Strongest Man. It would be just incredible to see the feats of strength he could do.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And for me, he was growing. You can see the stretch marks on him. He's growing that quick. He's growing that quickly. I mean, how old is he then? 26? 26 years old.
Mid-20s, yeah.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah. And you can see the stretch marks because he's growing that. He's already 7'2", whatever he is. And yet he's growing with muscle mass. He's not fat anymore. He's not like when he was in WCW when he was just a giant. Now he's weightlifting. Mm-hmm. And he's growing through these T-shirts, through the muscle mass. And the Undertaker's completely right. And it's the same with me and my brother. We think that there was so much potential and he fucked it up for whatever reason. Yeah. There's a match at, I spoke about this with Dan and Rob on their podcast at SummerSlam 99. And Undertaker and Big Show are in a tag match. And there's a bit of showboating going on. And basically, Undertaker just says to him, like, because he tags himself in, because Big Show has done some bit of showboating by just putting his foot on top of the whoever it was. I think it was like The Rock. He kicks out, and then the Undertaker just aggressively tags himself in and goes and choke slams The Rock or whatever, pins him, wins the match, and he basically turns to Big Show and he's like, "What the fuck was that?" Like a proper serious one. It wasn't. I don't believe it was scripted or part of story. I genuinely believe Undertaker was pissed off
because he was fucking about.
Exactly. And Big Show's like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." And you could tell he's genuinely pissed off. And the Big Show's like, "Shit, I've pissed off Mark here." You know, it's very interesting. Like I said, when you see the real insights of things, it's like, this is getting a bit edgy and it's more enjoyable to watch.
Steve, we never saw it a great deal on television, but are you aware that in the Big Show, or Paul White, because he was the giant in WCW and all that sort of stuff, in his earlier years, he actually used to be able to throw a proper drop kick, not the one where you land on your back and just throw your legs, a proper drop kick up to people's faces, and could also do a moonsault.
No way! Wow!
And one finish to a Kevin Nash match from the WCW mid to late 90s was supposed to be Nash taking the moonsault from the Big Show or Paul White or the Giant and whatever, and Nash vetoed it and said, "Look, he's a big old boy. If he lands on me and gets it wrong, I'm fucked."
This is a Nash who's had Mabel land on him and fuck it up, so you can understand the trepidation.
But I mean, there we go. The Rock wins the Rumble, goes on to WrestleMania, and we have the very first time, the 16th 16th WrestleMania, the very first time a heel leaves with the WWF World Title.
Mm-hmm. Well, this storyline again is one of my favorites. That, like you said, the Triple H wins the match, and it is genuinely an absolutely massive storyline to really put. I think it's more to put over the bad guys in Triple H, the Helmsley regime. That's what it's to do. It's not to put The Rock over, because The Rock eventually wins at Backlash. I think they're possibly the plan is we need to wait for Stone Cold to come back to do something. And by all accounts, I can't remember him doing much at Backlash apart from hitting a steel chair over someone's head. I keep forgetting what actually happens with.
Well, we're going into 2000 then, aren't we? And I suppose this is where we get the nonsense, Magsy, with him turning face and heel a few times, and the Big Show I'm referring to here.
No, Big Show, bloody hell, he turned heel and face 20 times in the 2000s. So, but I think the Austin return, that was where they really started running with the who run Austin over storyline, because that was a Survivor Series 99.
Yes. That's when he gets run over, and then at Survivor Series 2000 is when he gets his revenge on Triple H. And then at No Way Out 2001 is when they had their 3 stages of hell match. I think it is. Is that right? Yeah. So this whole storyline has been planned, but I think they just cock it up in certain places, like we've already mentioned with Rikishi being the guy that run him over. It's just, it honestly, even talking about it just annoys me because it's just so ludicrous. And even like, I know for a fact that mid 2000s, so I think it was after SummerSlam, after The Undertaker arrives, between roughly October up to December, it is just the Triple H Stephanie McMahon show, and it's fucking awful. And the whole Kurt Angle getting involved with
Reign
Stephanie
of
and
Terror.
stuff. Yeah, it's
of
abysmal.
course. That runs into Royal Rumble 2001, doesn't it? With Kurt kissing Steph, and why?
It's abysmal. And then it's after Royal Rumble 2001 that it slowly starts picking up. I love all the invasion stuff. I think it's fucking brilliant. Yes, we could be sat here all night talking about what they didn't do with the invasion. We all know the answers to it. They had no contracts. We get it all. But I love it.
That's a whole different podcast.
No, but it is. Reversing back to the 2000 Royal Rumble, I liked the way it ended. I've got no qualms about that. And I remember being back at going back to school, really annoyed that Big Show didn't win and everything. But the storyline made sense. But unfortunately, storyline moving forward, I just found it really, really boring and quite hard to watch. And that's literally of recent times, just several weeks back.
Okay. On that note, I'm going to chuck the question to the pair of you. Steve-O, you said that in 2000 you were, you literally just said you went to school. So how old were you in 2000?
15, I think, yeah.
Okay. This was a Sunday night pay-per-view. Did you go to school Monday?
Yes, yeah.
You trooper. Must have had 2 hours kip.
In fact, I read a school report of me in year 9, and the only thing that came good of it was the form teacher saying, his attendance record is excellent. Everything else.
Magsy, in 2000, how old were you, my friend?
20.
Did you go to work Monday morning?
Yeah.
Yeah? Fair enough. I can
Did you?
say I called in sick.
Disgusting.
But there we go. Gentlemen, we have gone well over 3 hours. This has been and I suppose it's quite fitting considering this is Chain Wrestling 100. It's a special occasion, the longest chain wrestling we've ever done. Maxie, do you remember when we started this show? We
30 minutes. 45 minutes max.
And here we are at 3 hours plus.
Ironically, the whole pay-per-view was 2 hours and 54 minutes. So we could have done a watch along of the whole of Royal Rumble 2000 and still not gone over by half an hour.
But the thing is as well, I think this, and I'm going to be really arrogant and cocky about this. I think this is one of our best episodes. I've loved this conversation. I've loved Steve-O's insight as a fan at that time. Magsy, I always enjoy talking to you. The chat has been great. We've still got plenty of people watching as well. It's been awesome. I've loved this. Yeah. We need to rank it though, boys. Out of 10.
Yeah,
and
I think
we talk bell to bell. So we're looking at just the Rumble.
Obviously, as the Royal Rumble, the actual pay-per-view itself, me personally, I give it 10 out of 10. The actual Royal Rumble match, though, I'd quite comfortably give it a 7. For me, it the time disappears. I genuinely can't believe that's 50 minutes. It vanishes. The storytelling is great. All the wrestlers want to actually win the Royal Rumble. I was invested in it. I believed anybody could win it, and yeah, I'll happily give it a 7 out of 10.
Magsy?
Yeah, I echo pretty much everything Steve-O said about it. We've got to remember this is so important in terms of British wrestling fans who may not have seen anything from the WWF since the 80s, 90s. So for me, that shows how important that this match is. And there's nothing in it that offends, apart from obviously Jerry Lawler. It's a easy watch. No, but it genuinely is a rumble that you can watch, and it just flows past. There's other rumbles where you're taken out of the match because of how bad it was booked, or there's other rumbles that absolutely blow you away. This is very middle of the road. And I think a 7 is the perfect score for it. It's never going to be people's number one rumble, but it was enjoyable to watch. So yeah, I can't really fault it for that.
See, it's so funny because I came in talking almost out of the three of us, talking almost the most negative out of the three of us. Well, not almost. I was the most negative out of the three of us. But I was trying to say, look, I'm not being negative completely. I just think it lacked a bit of this, it lacked a bit of that. And you compare it to the following year's Rumble. 2001 is, to me, one of the best Rumbles of all time. 92 is always my favorite. It doesn't match up with those. It lacked a bit of star power and so on. I agree completely with Steve-O and you, Magsy. The pay-per-view itself is gold. This pay-per-view is fantastic. The Rumble itself was decent, but not spectacular. But it did what they needed. The Rock and the Big Show went on and did what they had to do and so on. I've got exactly the same ratings as you boys.
Hey.
I've got a 7 out of 10, but I think the pay-per-view is probably about a 9.5. Show beginning to show end. So yeah, despite the fact I had maybe some more negative points to make, I completely agree with you fellas.
All friends in the end. See, we're like too cool. You eliminated us with your negativity, but we then give you the little too cool and everything.
Mate, honestly, if you could see my arse, I would be the Rikishi out of us three. 100%. Right. Where do we go next week? There are 3 of us here. Next week, we obviously reverting back to our normal 2-man booth, I guess, is the way it works. And we're going to be looking at potentially having people on again in the new year. But here and there, we'll see how it goes. But this week's poll is going to be 3 options once again. So, what have you got for us, boys?
I've actually changed my mind in literally the last 2 seconds while you've just been speaking. And
okay.
I was originally going to go to the WrestleMania. Where the title match is held and everything, and obviously see if The Rock wins it or not. I don't want to go there. I want to go to the next pay-per-view, which is where The Rock actually wins the title, which is at Backlash 2000. I actually want to hear you guys discuss Backlash 2000 to round off this whole McMahon-Helmsley regime and everything. So, because that still continues up until when The Undertaker returns at, I keep getting this wrong. Is it SummerSlam, Mags? It's Judgment Day with the strap match, isn't it? That's when it all concludes. Oh, that's right. Because is it an Iron Man or a strap match?
It's an Iron Man match, isn't
it's
it?
An Iron Man. And Taker comes back and literally does nothing to help The Rock.
That's right.
Essentially, I think they mistime it. Pardon? Yeah.
Doesn't he cost him the title?
I think the timing is out, that the clock goes just when Undertaker was meant to help him win. But if it wins, we'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to go with Backlash 2000. Technically the conclusion of giving The Rock the belt basically, and sending him off to the stardom, and then he loses it within a matter of weeks. But
should have happened at WrestleMania. That was a bad booking decision.
Oh, I disagree.
Oh, okay.
I genuinely think that to get the heels over, to get Vince McMahon because Vince McMahon wasn't even in WWE until only a few weeks before WrestleMania. That which surprised me because I was really wanting him to come back, but he still wasn't in it after No Way Out 2000. Still not in it weeks later after No Way Out. And as we're building up to WrestleMania again, I stopped watching, but I'm assuming that's when obviously McMahon comes back to be in The Rock's corner. And I just still think that the booking for me is perfect, and it is the very similar to when at Bash at the Beach with the NWO. It's that turn, and everybody's just launching in the cola bottles and everything, and that's what happens at WrestleMania 2000. I love it. I personally think it's amazing. Again, this is what wrestling's all about. We agree to disagree, you know. And, we're not going to fall out over it. I loved it. You didn't. It's great. It's fine.
Yeah, no, that's spot on. And it's idiots online who can't have those adult conversations that ruin it for everyone else. You know, and there are certain people that we were all aware of who are like that. DJ Storms, fuck you, you're a cunt. Magsy, my friend,
still around?
He is still around. He's still a piece of shit.
Okay. Well, as Steve-O quite eloquently showed, I think there's still a lot more to talk about in this storyline, in this kind of weaving of two storylines together. So I want to just go ahead 20 days. And I want to go to No Way Out 2000. And I want to break the rules again.
Oh, surprise.
Because this is all leading to a four-way match at WrestleMania. So let's talk about those two matches that lead to that. Big Show versus The Rock for the number one contender, number one contendership for the title, and then Triple H and Cactus Jack in the Hell in a Cell title versus career match. Let's do them both. Let's do both.
Why not? Fuck it. Hey, 100 episodes looking at one match at a time. Let's fucking just throw all that out the window. Let's look at two. And matches.
Also,
we watched a supermarket brawl between Austin and Booker T, and then we also watched Dean Ambrose on the Broken Skull session. So we can obviously change as much as we change our underwear.
We've also watched an episode of Baywatch.
We did, exactly.
Great episode.
Exactly.
There's also a spot in that Hell in the Cell match where the video that I uploaded of it was banned. So there we are. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. My selection, boys, is going to be using the arena because I thought Madison Square Garden, that's important. And I actually went back and looked at WrestleMania 1. Now, don't panic. I picked nothing from that show. I was tempted because Barry Windham's on that show. But I thought, no, I won't do that. Because let's be honest, that won't win. The only person who will vote for that is me. So I looked at other events at Madison Square Garden. We got a couple of SummerSlams. We got some great matches and great history. Then Survivor Series 2002 stood out for me. And I thought, ooh,
brilliant.
Oh, okay. But the match that my eyes are drawn towards, the Elimination Chamber match, we've already covered, Magsy, haven't we?
We have, yes.
And we scored it very highly. And Sean's my guy, and I was like, okay. But then as I looked at it and almost cancelled it off my phone, sad and disappointed, I realised, oh my God, look at that tag match, Survivor Series 2002.
There is a couple of good tag matches on that card.
So I would like to use the arena as my link. MSG, go to Survivor Series 2002 and look at Edge and Rey Mysterio versus Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit versus Eddie and Chavo Guerrero in an elimination tag match.
That's easy for you to say.
That is absolutely fucking fantastic. And we talk about the SmackDown 6. This is what the internet wrestling community refers to this period as. Man, some of those names in that, so good.
Yeah.
So that's my option there, boys.
Great pick. Brilliant. I mean, man's going to win quite clearly, but still a good pick.
Because you broke the fucking rules again.
No, I'll just bend them slightly.
Yeah, okay. We literally watched an episode of Baywatch because you can't stick to the rules.
I can't help what the scenery I've bought for.
You can just stick
I
to the
just
rules and don't put
flick
it
the
forward.
shit, and if it sticks, we watch it.
Those are your options for the poll this week. That will be up later in the week after the audio version drops on Wednesday. You have from Steve-O, Backlash 2000, The Rock versus Triple H, a further step in this storyline. You have from Magsy, No Way Out 2000, and both matches, The Big Show versus The Rock versus and then Triple H versus Cactus Jack, again leading into WrestleMania 16. Or we have Survivor Series 2002. And Edge and Rey Mysterio versus Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit versus Eddie and Chavo Guerrero for, I think, was it the first SmackDown titles, or they already decided the SmackDown tag titles a month or two before, and this was one of the earlier?
Yeah, I think Edge and Ray go into that match as champions, if I remember rightly.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Honestly, I'm going to be so happy with whatever wins because I think that's some great choices.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Good matches. Yep.
Very good. It's nearly 3.5 hours in, boys. Steve-O, we'll start with you. Tell us where everyone can find you online.
It's quite simple, really. If you just want to follow me on Twitter, where I'm most interactive, it's at Total Steve-O. If you want to follow me on TikTok for dash cam videos, it's at Total Steve-O. And if you like your fantasy football and you want to join a community like we are here at Chain Wrestling, it's at Elite FPL. Simple.
Steve-O, how many people are in that one league that I joined?
I'll be honest, I don't even know what league you joined.
The one you said, don't join that, no one bothers anymore. But there's like quite a few hundred in there.
Oh yeah, I don't know. It's a simple answer. I don't know, mate.
Because I'm doing all right, mate. You know, I'm doing all right.
I don't want to talk about it because I'm doing shit.
Magsy, where can people find you, bud?
Well, they can find me on Twitter. I do this all the time, but at PodfatherMags, I probably won't reply or read or even acknowledge the fact that you've followed, liked, or tweeted me. But you can also
really worth it.
Yeah, it is. Funnily enough, my followers are still going up. I don't know why. I haven't tweeted anything in like 6 months. Same with my TikTok. Go and follow that if you want. You probably won't see any new content, but do it anyway. That's at Mags All Pods.
Fantastic. The best place to find me would now be at SJP World Media, where you can find all the content the network carries. This show, Murder in Mind podcast, The Waiting Room, looking at Quantum Leap, the Doctor Who podcast, NXT Rise and Fall, WCW Nitro Nights. Oh my God, there is so much there. In the corner, looking at weekly WWE television with Benny Mac. The same from the guys in the States, RSH Wrestling. So we get, the perspective from this side of the pond and the other. There's so much going on. Back when with Scottish Danny and Tyler, it's just the network is getting bigger and bigger. I appreciate everyone, spending their time listening, sharing, and so on. But please make sure you are subscribing and leaving reviews on all your podcast players. Subscribe on the YouTube so you know when we go live or anyone else if they go live in the future, and so on, at SJP World Media. But most importantly, you can follow this show at Chain_Wrestling on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and that TikTok thingamy. 100 episodes, Magsy. I want to shout out a huge thank you, first of all, to you for agreeing to join this project when it was just an idea from a guy who had a crappy microphone. Not even that. I had literally a headset that came free with my mobile, and that's all I had to record with, and it sounded like shit. But you took a gamble and you joined in, and we are where we are now. I want to say a huge thank you to my wife for pushing me into this in the same way you did as well, Magsy, saying I should get into podcasting and so on. And I want to say a huge thank you to the CWF. I want to say a huge thank you to the likes of Steve-O, Dan Griffin, Benny Mac, all these guys, Millwall Chris, Andy from Bang Bang Podcast, UTT Rob. There's so many that I can't list them all.
Danny.
Scottish Danny, of course. Oh, Jesus Christ, I've got to say his name. He all turned up in Gloucester and stabbed me. All these people who have been with us since day one. And here we are now, 100 episodes in, with more people listening, more people watching, more people commenting, more people retweeting. And it genuinely, it's amazing that people still want to listen to what we ramble on about. It means so much. So thank you to everybody I just mentioned, anyone who's ever listened, retweeted, voted, etc. And again, Magsy and my wife, huge thank you to you two as well.
I mean, I deserve it. I'm literally the best thing that's happened to your podcasting career.
Why are you the way you are?
You are exactly right, Ross. This was this should have been a nothing project. It should have just been two blokes talking about wrestling and one person listened to it. And it snowballed into the highlight of my week. I absolutely love doing this show, not only because I get to talk to you and we get to be idiots for everyone, but because so many people come along and listen along and get involved. The show wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for the likes of Steve or wasn't for the likes of Dan, Benny, Matt, Cam, Scottish Dan, everyone who's took part. Sharon is a huge part of this.
Yeah.
Charlie, it's just amazing. I've never been about numbers or about viewers or listens or downloads or stuff like that, but to see so many people returning week after week, and we just have a laugh in the chat, and we just have a laugh on the show. It's amazing. I really massively appreciate every single one of you.
I think from without wanting to repeat what I said last week, from a fan's perspective, because that's what I am, a fan, and
well,
I put you on the level of, from an entertainment / enjoyment / informative point of view, along the likes of, say, Chris Jericho, Stone Cold, Conrad.
That's very kind.
It's you, in the words of Austin, you appeal to the everyday man, and the reason why Austin got over so many years ago was because everybody related with him. And from I can only speak for myself, but you were just saying then about the fact that when you first started the show, you said it would only be 30 minutes. It was actually 40 minutes, and then it just snowballed and snowballed. Well, I'm at in my history of you guys, I'm now just after January 2000, it's this year, 2000. So this January this year, and I can already hear the development in your show and what you're doing with the community and everything. And as I keep banging on about, your show is so much like Elite FPL. It's frightening. Like, there was a montage what Jason put together that genuinely nearly brings me to tears, because he's taken clips from when me and my mate Dan did our show on a private Facebook group. And it's gone from that to, like I said, where we're now like you guys in this community of people that literally live on every word we say. And Mag summed it up last week, where it's so nice to hear someone tell us that we take something that's so mundane in their life and make it entertaining. Like I say, like me at work or me going out on a walk or whatever, listening to you guys, time just goes, it vanishes, because I'm so invested. And for you guys to hit 100 podcasts it doesn't surprise me. And here's to the next 100 and the next 100 and the next 100, because I've already told you off air and I'll say it now. Like, I would have asked this in the Ask You Anything podcast, and you don't need to answer this now because we want to go to bed. I've been up for nearly 24 hours, no joke. But it would be like, where do you see the SJP media developing? When do you think it will be a case of, do you know what, we want to go down the paywall route of, we give away obviously the content for free, but there will be now a paywall, because we've got such a giant community now that we can get there will be people that are willing to contribute towards you doing this as a living. You know, I'm happily supporting you, buying your shirts and
that
everything.
means so
And
much, yeah.
it's people like myself and the various other people that you've mentioned, which once the support of the show starts growing, you guys won't be doing shows like this for much longer, in the sense of how can I put this politely? It's kind of like unprofessional manner, even though I'm telling you now, you guys are so much more professional than me and Jason. It makes me feel really uncomfortable because I'm not used to professionalism. And I mean that with complete sincerity, because the way you guys do this show is so well done that you will have to take it to the next level, where it's like, we're gonna have to do this twice a week. You have to. But you'll have to do it behind a paywall where people will want to be like, well, I want to listen to the non-wrestling topic, but they only do it via Patreon. Oh, well, here's whatever you decide to charge, 99p or whatever the minimum is. And yeah, it generally just snowballs from there. Because if you'd told me 4 years ago, just to let you know, Steve-O, that you'll win an award, not me, but me and Jason will win an award for best fantasy football content. You'll be doing a show twice a week, streaming to like 130, 150 people. I'd have told you, shut the fuck up, you're living in dream world. You need to go to the mental health asylum down there because you don't know what you're talking about. But it happens because all these things snowball. You know, you've been doing this, for a year and a half, 2 years?
It'll be
Something like
2
that?
years at the start of December.
2 years. It's nothing. You're just babies. And you're both absolutely there's that word, outstanding at what you both do. You're very, very good. Like I said, Mags is the encyclopedia. You're the host. Well, it should be that way, actually. You're the host.
Sai also appears.
Yeah.
You've got the perfect combination. And once you've got that combination in place, you just keep on going and going and going. And I know for a fact that the way you two are, that the community will always be. It's like with Elite FPL, the community is always going to be the forefront of everything. It's like Mags may joke about it, but it's true. It's just, you're just two guys that just chat shit. It's about you guys, what you want. And that's why your show's so successful, because you're kind of talking about things that we want to talk about. So yeah, I just can't wait to listen to the next 100 shows.
Well,
We
thanks,
can't
mate.
put into words how much we appreciate that. We
That's
really
amazing.
can't. It's just amazing. Thank you very much.
I'm not sure if I can tolerate him for another 100, but we'll see how we go.
It won't be long before I have another mental breakdown and I disappear for a month.
Steve, that's honestly incredibly kind of you. Thank you so much. Yeah, we have got to go. It's over 3.5, easily the longest chain wrestling we've ever done. Thank you so much to everyone who stuck with us in the chat on the live version from beginning to end. Thank you so much to everybody for the last 100 episodes who has been on the show, guested, co-hosted, voted, got involved in the non-wrestling topic, retweeted anything. It means so much. I suppose the biggest thing I can say is thank you, CWF. Here's to the next 100. I'm off now to make myself some sandwiches because I got work very early tomorrow and it's past my bedtime. Gentlemen, it's been a blast. Thank you so much.
All right, guys.
Good night.